In a world teeming with supernatural claims, from aliens and ghosts to cryptids, religions, and other unexplained phenomena, enter Captive Desk, that offers a skeptic's perspective. Join us for engaging discussions, opinions, scientific analysis, and a dash of humor as we delve into the unknown, unravel the mysterious, and confront the otherworldly as we seek to distinguish fact from fiction at the Captive Desk.
Hey.
Hello, greetings, welcome to the Captive Desk. I came across this video and I want to do a response right away. It just came out yesterday and it's among many that have been bugging a lot of us lately. And, I took part in a video with Deconverted Man saying, atheists don't believe everything came from nothing, stop using that. It's just making things up, and it's just getting way beyond that. An atheist just doesn't believe in God. Atheists can believe in all kind of other things. Atheists can be spiritual and all kinds of other diversification, right?
Yep.
All it really means to me is that you just don't believe in God. Okay, it doesn't mean you want to be evil. Doesn't mean you want to sin. For me, I was never really a believer. I know a lot of folks were believers, like Scott was a believer. I wasn't really a believer. For me, it was just something I just outgrew, so to speak. It was stories you told kids. The social atmosphere and everything, and kind of I always tell people I had a good experience at church. I know not everybody has. But for me, I admit I was a little naive. Church was a bunch of friendly people that came together on Sunday. The kids did their macaroni art, and all those things. I did all that stuff. It was family time. It was social time. It was neighbor time, because most folks back, especially back in the day, you kind of had a local church, and everybody was kind of gathered together. And then just like a lot of things, I know believers don't like to hear comparing it to Santa Claus, but for me, it was like Santa Claus, right? It's something for the family to do, the kids to do. Some people don't believe telling their kids about Santa Claus. I never really saw any harm to it, because I thought, kids have imagination time, right? That they imagine all kind of things. They build their little roads with their Hot Wheels and their Tonka trucks, and they build their doll houses, whatever the kids do. It's imagination time. So, whatever your decision is as a parent, none of my business, okay? But I thought Santa Claus was fun, so we did Santa Claus. But again, it was something you kind of outgrew, right? And again, it changes over time, right? You no longer do the Santa Claus, but you still get together with the relatives, and then it's more of a different atmosphere, you kind of visiting with everybody, and it's not so much about Santa Claus anymore. And the same thing kind of with me. I just went on to other things, and there was a God. Okay, I heard about it, right? But it didn't seem to be anything that, I didn't have an experience or none of that stuff, right? So I like to always have other opinions, and it's always nice to have Scott with us, because Scott was a believer. Mike was kind of here, there, and around, right? You explored a lot of things, right?
Yeah. I was into Buddhism by the time I was a teenager, but I was exposed to church that it overlapped with Santa. So it went from Santa to Jesus, And then about the time, I don't know, I was 8, 9 years old, I just told my mom, no, this doesn't make any damn sense at all. I just didn't believe. And she didn't press it, so she's free. But what if our parents had kept up with the Santa thing until we left home at 18? I mean, really went to great lengths to convince
if the
us.
presents got better, right? Like cars and stuff, that would.
I don't know. Yeah. Like, and like if they had a really good story about how they got down the chimney like they did on that, the red one, the latest movie, where he shrinks down with this machine. And I could have bought into that for a while. I don't know. But I mean, it would have been weird if our parents had kept doing that. And then we went on and got married to people that also believed in Santa, and we all believed in Santa together. And 80% of the nation believed in Santa. What kind of a world would this be? I wonder. We'd be careful with that
spirit, maybe. Yeah, if everybody was decorating and having a good time, and you're
going to end up on Santa's naughty list if you
get the cold.
You're not careful. I don't know. But I mean, what in the hell is wrong with us, Dave, that we still believe in Santa Claus? 80% of us, and we're adults. I mean, oh my God. I don't know.
Well, it's like a double-edged sword, so to speak, right? Imagination is a great thing, right? Yeah, everybody loves to have imagination, even if it's just going to the movies, right? I often say, you can go and watch Superman or whoever your favorite superhero is, so to speak, right? But it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get into
worse.
Yeah.
People believe still in a Santa Claus that likes to throw you in a torture chamber.
A real nasty Santa Claus.
Yeah.
But the imagination thing, even in adults, we like to go to a theater, see sci-fi and all these things, and escape reality for a little while. Star Wars, whatever your thing is, right? Wow, yeah, just let your mind wander. There could be this going on the other side of the universe, all these aliens and everything stuff, or Superman with super human powers, and that would be really neat to fly. I think that would be neat to fly. I really think that would be neat, where you could just fly around. I think that would be really neat. But it doesn't seem to happen after you leave the theater. Okay. And that's kind of the Bible to me. Is you can take it for what it is. A lot of people appreciate just the writing, right, and the poetry and the style and all kind of things, and you can enjoy the book, right? But for me, it's like but then people don't come back from the dead, right? We've all lost folks, and it's a tough part of life, but it's wishful thinking, right? And it's a nice wish. Everybody wants to see their loved ones again and all that kind of stuff, But a lot of these things, they're stories in a book, and I've always kind of left it there. So as far as being an atheist goes, it's a label that was thrust upon me, right? I didn't even know what it was when I wasn't a believer. Yeah, it wasn't important to me.
I was an atheist for 50 years before I thought about calling myself one. Yeah. Like, that's what that is. So I just don't believe in God. Yeah.
People just kept saying, "Oh, you're an atheist," and it's like, okay, all right. Yeah. I've always said I'm a skeptic, and like Mike, I'm interested in a lot of things. I've explored Buddhism and other religions. I try to, obviously it's impossible to study all religions. But I try to get, at least an idea of different philosophies and the religions and the differences between the Eastern and the Western, and the cultural differences, But as far as the atheist thing goes, it was just, again, for me, okay, I don't believe. Okay. I always just said I don't believe, because I always had a thing about saying atheist, because when you say it, they automatically, this, and this. And I think here's the problem that Dan has here in this video, is that he's picked up on this and he's promoting this, is that, oh, you say you're an atheist. Oh, well, this, I'm going to tag you with a bunch of things. And most of the things just don't even really apply at all. And others are the usual, oh, well, explain the universe to me, or these kind of things, right? Again, an atheist just doesn't believe in God. An atheist can believe in all kind of things. Morals, right? We have morals. Most of us,
yeah,
sure, Bigfoot, right?
Leprechauns, yeah.
Slim Cyborg, it looks like, is going to be talking about Bigfoot tomorrow, so might see me over there. That's fun for me too. Bigfoots and aliens and ghosts and all this stuff. It's fun for me. I just don't take it too seriously. Okay, so it's not a big deal. I just not convinced that your God exists. And if there's some supernatural being out there hiding out outside of our universe, okay, so be it. There you go. We'll put it there. So we're going to look at this. It's not a very long video. We're not going to delve too deeply or anything. But when something comes up about atheism, I have to call in Answers in Atheism. So I got a hold of Mike and Scott from Answers in Atheism just to help me out, get a different, a couple different voices in on this, right? A couple, different, we have different viewpoints. Again, our paths are not all that similar at all, just because we ended up not believing. The three of us have very different paths in reaching to where we are today. So try to give a varied view here and, take it for what it is. So let's listen to Dan and what he has to say.
Hey, welcome to Church for Skeptics. I want to talk about the best arguments for atheism. And I'm trying to, use some of the best arguments that some of the famous atheists have used in the past. Some people think that...
And see, there it is right off the bat. See, he's going to quote people and what they said. And again, that doesn't represent everybody. Atheists are not a group that has to all agree with each other. It's just not believing in God. All right. So right off, he's going to pick different people and what they said. And it's like, okay, I don't care, but we'll find out what they say anyways.
The Bible doesn't actually try to argue for the existence of God, but I disagree with that. I think Romans 1 makes an argument from teleology, the teleological argument, basically that we know that God exists because of the universe that he created.
All right, pause it.
There it is. And real quick, speaking of, I saw look at the trees here, and that's what this is sounding like, is look at the trees.
Yeah.
And we got Jess here. Jess is feeling under the weather. I hope you feel better soon.
Definitely.
Tilting Windmills is here. And did I say Rochelle? If not, Rochelle deserves an extra one for all your great moderating. Appreciate you very much. And who else? Hillary's emails is in here. Austin stopping by. Hello, Austin. And BS, Star Song. We got all the best folks here. Hello, everybody. Good to see you.
So when you plant a carrot in your garden and the carrot comes up, I mean, do you believe that was created by someone? The carrot, when you pull it up and you pull up a whole carrot and you say, oh, it was a seed before and now it's a carrot. That must have been created by somebody, right? There must have been a little elf that came in the garden at night and stretched out that little root and, kind of like filled it up with orange stuff. Created it, right? I mean, who the fuck believes that trees and vegetables and all of this stuff around us, other than cars and airplanes, was created? Who believes that? Anyway, run this
Well,
guy.
and I give the benefit of the doubt for people that didn't know any better and tried to explain things with stories that different things made things happen, right? They didn't know, right? But again, there's a line, right? These are old stories that, yeah, okay, there was a carrot fairy, and I'm sure there's a story somewhere that, well, there obviously are how the plants and animals came to be, right? Uh, a whole bunch of different ones, right? They're just trying to explain it like any parent. I always compare it to being a parent, right? Your child comes to you and says, "How did the carrot grow?" And you're like, "Oh well,
The
right?
carrot fairy.
There's this carrot fairy." Yeah, go ahead.
Chris Mallard this morning, he does a kind of a tongue-in-cheek community poll every morning. And this morning it was like, what's the weirdest argument that somebody's ever used on you? And I put none of the above. And then in the comment, I said that the people that go, shrug and go, well, somebody had to make all this.
Yeah,
and
right.
If there's any argument being made in that passage of Romans that is being referred to in this video, that's the reaction. It's just that somebody had to make, but there's not even an argument being made. If you consider the Bible to be, an authoritative, inerrant, infallible instruction for you, those are just dogmatic statements. They're just statements that everything that has been created, you can see God's glory and His power and everything, to where you have no excuse if you don't believe. That's just a dogmatic assertion. In the world of reason, you can't make dogmatic assertions. You just make assertions, and then hopefully you have some arguments that support that, and you don't get that in that passage of Romans. So I don't think Arsenault understands what arguments are, or he's being very loose in his use of terminology. And I think that's what we're going to see a lot of here in this video, and people may agree with me. The guy is just very vague. He tries to, kind of uphold the idea of common sense a little bit, I think, which is not really something you can uphold too well. There are counterintuitive realities in our world, such as the world revolves around the sun, or the world goes around the sun and not the sun around the world, the sun around the earth. For millennia, that was the intuition. Certain Greek philosophers and thinkers realized long ago that maybe it's different. Maybe it's different than that. But the majority of people thought it was a geocentric world.
Yeah. The very end of this video, he's going to basically say he will go with the common sense. And often, like you say, the common sense isn't what reality is, right?
Yeah.
People looked into the sky and they thought they had common sense about how everything moved, but they were mistaken.
Yeah, common sense is for a world in which you get up at the same time every day. If you go to work, you apply your skills at work. Maybe go to the store and then go home, eat supper, watch some TV. You don't encounter things that challenge your view of the world that often. And so common sense based on this is what people do, this is what people have done, this is what I've seen before, and the way I understand the world, that gets you by. But in philosophy and in science, you're encountering truths that go against your best intuitions, which is why we had to develop a scientific method as a way to realize that we encounter things every day that are counterintuitive and don't seem right, yet they just may be. And here is some strong evidence for them, or even some weak evidence. There are things that just seem one way but are another, and we have to. And science deals with those. And so this common sense thing is just trying to appeal to a populist virtue, which just is a mistake. And you can tell that from the lack of precision, the lack of specificity he engages in.
And just so in case anybody doesn't know, Romans 1 is basically God. You should believe in God because of look at the trees, right? The invisible qualities are clearly seen, something like that.
Yeah. He's preying on people. He's preying on people who don't have intricate knowledge of how things basically work in naturalism, like how chemistry and physics works. Like preying on a person who doesn't understand what happens when you plant a carrot seed in the ground. And then, a few weeks later, you got a full carrot. And you could prey on them and claim that had to be a magical carrot leprechaun that did that, right? You could prey on them because a lot of us don't know exactly. I mean, we accept that a seed turns into a plant. I mean, because it's so common and it happens so often. We just say, oh, yeah, we understand that. But do you really understand all of what has to happen for a carrot seed to turn into a carrot? Not many people know anything about that. And when you prey on people, but we accept science, right? We accept that science has figured this shit out, right? But when you prey on people that don't trust science a little bit, maybe they're lying to you about how the carrot got created. Maybe it really was magical, a magical carrot. I don't know. But magical carrots is what he's talking about. And he's preying on people that have it's amazing. It almost seems like there's two different kinds of people. There are people that understand that the natural world is extremely complicated and does really amazing complex things like stars and galaxies and things like that. And then the people that say, no, it had to be a man that did that. There had to be a man around to create that, right? And it couldn't just be an ordinary man. It had to be a Superman. I mean, what the fuck?
Scott's got Romans up there. Yeah. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse.
Right.
Which is, we sum it up as look at the trees, right? And look at the trees out there. That's where he gets his screen name from, is the look at the trees. Okay, but like Mike's saying, looking at the trees and saying, okay, there was a tree fairy. Okay, that's a nice story. Yeah. But if you really want to know why that tree is there, then you go into a specific field of what are trees? Is that under botany? Is it under botany?
Yeah, or plant developmental, but not botany, basically.
Whatever, the specific field is, and you study why is that tree the way it is? Well, how does it get its nutrients? How does it grow from a seed? How does it produce seeds? Why are there trees that lose their leaves and not lose their leaves? Yeah.
How does an oak tree know to make that crumply, curvy little leaf that it makes rather than a long, thin one like a willow tree? How do they know how to do that?
And now, even as an atheist, if you want to have a quote unquote spiritual experience, go out to a well-developed forest or thicket or well-managed wildlife park and find a big old tall tree. I don't know their names very well. An arborist. Yeah, there you go, Austin.
Arborist.
And look up at the sky, maybe like at noon or 3 o'clock when the sun's really high and it's shining down into the canopy of leaves. And what you encounter is what I once called a cathedral of green, where the light just overpowers you in the color, and it's so high and lofty. Those are all theological words, but you experience that in yourself without having to put a lot of churchy words to it. And you go, wow, this is something incredible. And you start thinking about relatives or shall we say ancestors who used to live in that greenery. Yeah. And you realize that something grand is going on, but you don't have to call it God. You just call it the grandeur of the world around us.
And Mike has said before, and then that's why we move along, and the next generation gets to go through that themselves, right? That's part of the deal. Everybody gets to go through it themselves.
Obviously looks designed for a purpose. And I think that's historically
Obvious to who?
The vast number of humans in humanity have
Hey, name that fallacy quickly.
said this.
Name that fallacy.
A what?
Equivocation.
I would call it bandwagon, because he's saying, hey, everybody's thought that way before.
That's what I mean.
It's also like an appeal to antiquity, which is still a form of bandwagon.
I've seen. Go ahead, Mike.
Anytime somebody says obviously, you need to tighten your butt, clench your butt, because no, it's not obvious to everybody. I mean, this isn't obvious to everybody. It's like, that's bullshit. This
not to be personal or anything, but this sounds like the child argument, right?
Yeah.
There was a study where they had the rock and the bear, right? And when you ask a small child, was the rock designed for the bear to scratch his back on?
Right.
And the young children would say, yeah, obviously, right?
Obviously,
the bear, they show them a picture or a video, right? And the bear's itching on the rock. Well, obviously that rock was made for the bear to scratch himself on. But as they ask older and older children into adults the same question, it would be, well, no, the bear just finds a rock to scratch himself on, right? So it loses that creation thing. So when you're saying, well, obviously that rock was created for the bear to scratch himself on, it sounds a little more like a childish argument, right? It's not exploring, the idea that the bear can scratch himself on a whole lot of rocks or trees or, on the ground, a lot of ways it can scratch itself. So it's not made for that. But it's an interesting study. I might have to find that video.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, yeah. And again, it sounds back to what we were saying, more of a primitive argument, right? When you didn't know better, you give these answers, but they're not quote adult answers. You know what I mean?
Well, it's all about agency detection. We are designed to look out for agency. Anytime we hear a rustle in the forest, we want to know if it was just a limb falling off a tree or whether it was a predator or prey, that was out there. So we have agency detection. And these guys, I don't know, it's like they're still living in this primitive mindset and not accepting what we've discovered about the world. But anyway.
That they believe in some sort of supernatural creator.
And you know what?
It's sad.
I forgot. Hold on a second here. I got the. There we go. This is not Saturday Night at the Atheist. It's my fault. Although this is a so to speak bonus edition, I guess.
Yeah.
I forgot to change the background. I just noticed that. Oh. See, the things I'm so disappointed in myself. Okay.
We're all disappointed in you, Dave.
I didn't want to have Saturday Night on the Atheist up there, and I completely forgot. I blew it. It was still up there. That's okay. That's all right. We're just amateurs here.
You really let us down. I'm telling you.
I had the picture ready and everything, and it's like, okay,
not gonna get over this.
Back on track. Let's start over. Everybody pretend this was the picture. Okay. All right.
Okay.
My argument crumbled back before I was a believer. My agnostic atheist views that there couldn't be a God because of so much evil and suffering, and that argument crumbles logically if there's such a thing as evil. You work yourself back to there has to be a lawgiver.
Okay.
Oy vey, or oy vey, whatever they say.
Yeah, that one always bothers me. Well, there's bad things because there's a lawgiver that says it's wrong, and it's like, but you can always go to, okay, is there bad things in heaven? Oh no, there's only good things in heaven. Well, then it's possible to create a reality where there are not bad things, right?
With God, nothing shall be impossible. I believe one Jesus Christ once said.
Yeah, and Jesus basically said that, you know, things just happen, right? When the house fell on the people and then they were killed or something, and they were believers, and Jesus basically just said, well, things happen, right?
Is he the one that's he's gonna make the argument now that if God didn't kill your kid with cancer, that it just wouldn't be an interesting story? Is he the one that came up? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I don't know if this one, but there's a lot of them that say that, that tragedies teach us things or something like that.
Yeah, it makes it much more interesting if a little kid suffers and dies from cancer than it would be if everybody was just happy. Yep.
And it's the mysterious ways. It's you cannot know what God's plan is, and that ultimately something good is going to come out from somebody else having to suffer, and it just seems like a really almost naturalistic way of handling things, right? Yeah. Humans had to fend for themselves, or the bears would have got us, right? So.
But tragedy makes perfect sense under a atheistic worldview, because we don't have to make an excuse for an intelligent creator killing us with bad shit, right? So under naturalism, it makes sense. And they're trying to basically, I think the original people that, wrote some of these things understood that, life does have tragedies, and one of them being that we're all going to fucking die. Every one of us is going to die. And they were trying to make sense of it. So they said, well, it's God's will. It's the universe's will, that shit's going to happen. Right. And it's a way to accept it. Yeah.
That's what the Buddha said, right? The sun shines down upon the believer and the non-believer, and the rains fall on the believer and the non-believer, right? Yeah. So even if you believe, it doesn't seem to change how things are going to be. Good and bad things are going to happen. And they seem to say that in the Bible, that, even the good folks, bad things can happen to them.
So we have Gregory Nietzsche from Johannesburg at 10:30 p.m. That's horrible.
Greetings. And and Chris is here. Hello, good to see everybody. Let's say hey to Tilting Windmill. If not, hello, Geo Sam. We always get the best folks stopping by. Good to see everybody.
I feel so bad for people that are stuck in the wrong time zone rather than the central time zone, the main one.
You and your funny time zone.
And Carl Sagan was the leading atheist for a number of years, and he was.
Now, see, here we go. Carl Sagan was the leading atheist. What does that mean?
Yeah, he led the whole pack, man. Everybody was following him down the road.
Is this poisoning the well, Scott?
Yeah, I think so.
It seems like it. It's just not very accurate. It made people, he was a leading science communicator and science promoter, which I think is a great thing. And my relationship with Carl Sagan is a little, I don't want to say, there was a time where I was still a Christian. In fact, most of the time I was a Christian. Carl Sagan was not looked upon very kindly by the fundamentalist Baptist kind of circles that I ran in. There was a Christian talk show I used to listen to every day, where that guy just excoriated Carl Sagan. Anytime he could, he would say some shit against Carl Sagan. Because he was an atheist. He was very honest about saying, well, there's no evidence for God. You don't have to give up your religion to, your religious belief to be a scientist, but you cannot say scientifically this, that, or the other. um, and um, and be correct. But he wasn't anti-religion to the best of my recollection, at least at that time. But yeah, people hated the Cosmos series he did. What was that? I'm trying to remember the name of the host but I'm so glad I can't remember. I'll have to do something to jog my memory. Marlin something, I don't know. But of course afterwards, when I began to loosen up on my rabid creationism or whatever, I was a little more well predisposed. Is it well predisposed? Well disposed? I don't know, towards Carl Sagan and what he had to say.
Yeah, well, back in the day when we didn't have all the channels, Carl Sagan was one of the few that we could see on, and I always said, I have memories of him being on Johnny Carson, and he was talking about solar sails and things like that,
Yeah.
It didn't come up about the religion thing or anything. And then with the science shows he had on, usually on PBS or whatever it would be. Yeah.
He was such a peaceful dude, and he had this like unbelievable reverence for for nature and complexity of nature, where he could poetically convey that to his audience, which was really powerful. It's pretty cool.
I got spring fever. See my artwork behind me. I got spring fever.
54 here. It's coming. I keep telling my kiddies are outside. They're all happy.
Almost 50 here today. That's Fahrenheit for you folks that use the metric system. We're backwards here.
For the deprived.
We've got you can see most of our lawn and across the street, which they get the sun first. Most of theirs is gone, so most of the snow is gone here. So, good.
All of ours is gone. We have nothing in Minneapolis. 0.
We actually got a little bit this year. Not a lot, but we actually got a little snow this year. So it's unusual. Last couple of years, we didn't hardly get anything.
Who's sanding metal? Sanding metal? Do we have a sanding metal sound? Is that me? That make noise? I don't know.
Maybe they heard my dogs tap dancing across the room to go outside. Maybe I have my microphone on.
Can you hear that?
Popular guy did a series called the
I don't
Nova
hear
series, a
anything.
good scientist, obviously. And every episode of his Nova series, the first thing he said was the universe is all there ever was, all there is, and all there ever will be. Now he's using a religious saying to make that saying, of course.
Pause it, please.
Yeah. Wait a
What?
minute.
I don't know what saying it's supposed to be
I don't know.
echoing. However, I don't know where I would place myself philosophically exactly here, but that seems to be a bit much, a bit strong. And
It is.
maybe that was his intent. He did a video to demonstrate, a documentary to demonstrate his viewpoint. And that's fine. But yeah, I agree. That's a very strong statement. I don't know that I can say epistemologically that we can say that positively at all. But, if somebody puts a gun to your head and you have to give a statement about the universe, that's good enough, right there, if that's what you believe.
Yeah.
But is
And
that what
like
you
Mike
know?
was-
No, it can't be because, we don't
And
have
you're
access
not getting
to knowledge.
you're not getting the inflection of Carl Sagan saying these things either. Like Mike said, he was very emotional and profound, and and so when he's saying these things, you have to hear how he's saying it. When Dan is repeating it here, it loses all of that, right? It totally loses all. You have to listen to Carl Sagan. Saying it makes the world of difference.
Of course, all there ever was and all there ever will be. Of course, we say that about God. He also said something else that I think makes me have pause. And that pause would be when he says this: extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
That's something he's popular for coining, I guess.
Yep.
And it's accurate. So I don't see what the problem is, but he's going to have a problem with it. Hey, how you doing, Zach? Good to see you.
And I'm thinking, yeah, I
Can you
guess
share a
that's
browser
true.
screen
I
real
can
quick?
see where that would be true.
Pardon me?
What's that?
Actually, let me send you a link, and I want you to play that Carl Sagan bit.
Sagan part. Yeah, I found one. The cosmos is all it is. Is it that one?
Yeah. If you've got one, go ahead and pull it up, and if that's okay, Dave,
Yeah, go ahead.
play it. Might as well hear the inflections.
Present. I shall present. But if I present, where am I going to present that? This is a minute and 34 seconds long. So I shall present. I'm trying to present. Come on, dude.
You can present. You can do it.
I can present. I'm presenting. Okay. I'll play from here. Look at that shit.
The cosmos is all that is, or ever was, or ever will be. Our contemplations of the cosmos stir us. There's a tingling in the spine, a catch in the voice, a faint sensation as if a distant memory of falling from a great height. We know we are approaching the grandest of mysteries. The size and age of the cosmos are beyond ordinary human understanding. Lost somewhere between immensity and eternity is our tiny planetary home, the Earth. For the first time, we have the power to decide the fate of our planet and ourselves. This is a time of great danger, but our species is young and curious and brave. It shows much promise. In the last few millennia, we have made the most astonishing and unexpected.
Sorry, Carl. Oh my God.
I believe our future depends powerfully on how well we understand this cosmos in which we float like a mote of dust in the morning sky.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
It's very poetic and very lofty, and sure, some people might see that as a scientific statement, but I think that's just more of a poetic.
The more I
his belief.
Yeah, and he said cosmos. I always like make a distinction between cosmos, meaning all that, whatever, everything that there is, right? And then the universe being as well, this little thing that we're in right now might be just a part of something bigger. We don't know. But anyway, might be a bubble.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, he in context there, he's talking about the grandeur of everything.
Yeah, everything. And did you see that wave? I mean, how can you look at that wave and not believe that that wave was created? Right? Did that wave look created to you?
Oh, and
I mean,
we all share awe and wonder, again, where look at the trees. I can appreciate, like I say, I like to garden. So does my wife. We love the plants and the flowers and the trees and everything.
So highlight Star Song's a little political statement there for a moment. I spent 38 years. Yeah. If they try to lower our Social Security, we must rise up and take arms. I mean it. Fuck that. I was paying in 13% because I was self-employed for a lot of years. And if they try to take that shit away, they're stealing from me because they've been using the money that I paid in back then. They use it with interest I want my goddamn money. Anyway, sorry guys.
Yeah, we're
Something on our minds.
We're in full bloom here, JL. Full bloom. Yeah, luckily there was some good news today. Actually, some of Trump's own cabinet appointees suspended these nonsense emails that Elon is sending around. So
they'll get fired.
It seems to be a little, a little glimmer of hope that there's going to be like, hold on. You know what I mean?
It's only a matter of time.
Hold on.
It's only a matter of time before Trump and Musk start fighting with each other. And then that becomes the only.
That's what I said. Yeah,
the only show on earth. Because
the
they're
two
just.
of them,
yeah,
they can't be together. Yeah, it's never going to work. So.
Well,
the sooner the better. The sooner the better, please.
My son was explaining this morning about this, that Trump hired a bunch of people in China to play this video game and up his, so he became the #1 player.
Elon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or Elon, right? Musk.
Yeah.
And then he did all this shit, this fake podcast stuff, or this.
Yeah.
He created a fake account to compliment himself, and he got caught, and then he finally admitted it. And anyway, okay, so that's narcissist with a capital N, and then we got Mr. Trump, who's also a narcissist with a capital N. What happens when you put two narcissists in a small room? It don't turn out well.
Not gonna last.
Yeah.
But like so many of them, I think they just take the risk for what it's worth to get theirs before they get out or are tossed out. You know what I mean? Because you have to know what you're getting into with Trump. I mean, everybody knows, that he's shady, doesn't pay bills, all that kind of stuff. So going in, they have to know that they're just trying to get theirs while they can. They're going to make bank, they're going to make political points, whatever. And then they're going to get out or they're going to move on, right? They have to know. So it's a dirty, dirty game they're playing, really, against each other too. So, but Elon and all the rest of them, you can kiss my you-know-what.
Thought about it, the more it turns atheism on its head. And here's my case today.
Here we go.
The first thing I want to say is that belief in God is not an extraordinary claim at all.
Really? Really?
I think all supernatural claims are extraordinary by definition, right?
I think a man-like being that lives in another dimension, creating and controlling everything that's going on right now, is kind of extraordinary claim to me. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You go ahead and tell me. What's he got?
It's the simplest. It's the most prevalent. It's historically, of course, we might want to fudge about which God that we're talking about here. But the idea of a supernatural beginning to a natural universe, the new nature can't create itself. And
notice he said it's the simplest and historically, and that's what I said. Yeah, folks that didn't know any better a long time ago told stories to explain things. We agree on that. As I point out, though, you have to understand the line of what's in the story and what is actually real. And thousands of years ago, I know there's this mystique, and it is very strange that if something was written in a book thousands of years ago, it's somehow magical or divine knowledge or something like that. But there's nothing in there that is beyond knowledge of the time. Go ahead, sir.
Did you hear how he threw a little crumb from his toast to the Muslims? Yeah. There's some other gods, maybe, other ideas.
so I don't think it's an extraordinary claim at all to believe in God. However,
there's fuzzy language there. He's fudging it a little bit. You can believe, but people believe in a lot of things, right? So it's still an extraordinary claim especially when you're like most religions, they are claiming they are the right religion. So that kind of adds to the extraordinary claim.
Claims of atheism, if they require extraordinary evidence, I think they are severely lacking in the evidence. Let me give you a couple of atheistic claims that I think are extraordinary. Number one,
Here we go.
the universe was caused by nothing.
No.
Where's your sound of the record being scratched all the way across, by the deal? Because
wait, what?
Yeah,
I did a little quick search in ChatGPT because I started asking myself, who actually is going around saying the universe began from nothing? And the only thing I get are the people like Lawrence Krauss, all the really smart guys, Stephen Hawking, several other folks. But they're I don't want to say peddling, but they're promoting a kind of a quantum field idea that all of the universe's energy adds up to zero, and some quantum fluctuation causes the expansion, which later has the energy kind of falling out into matter after about 300,000 years, 400,000 years, something like that. I probably just got the whole Big Bang thing horribly wrong. But that's the kind of nothing that they're talking about is the quantum vacuum, I guess that you would say. Victor Stinger, I think, but not a whole lot of people are saying the universe was created from nothing. And even if they might think that, I think it's very tentative that like the unproven, theories of string theory that maybe someday will be supported. But, those are just ideas that people are playing with. Nobody, I think, and of course, side chat, make your comments and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that's a serious belief from a lot of people.
And of course, the title of Lawrence Krauss's book is To Catch Your Eye and Sell Books, right?
Yeah, everything from nothing.
Lawrence, was obviously in the book describing something. But got to give a mention to Peter Atkins because Peter Atkins just has a lot of great things to say. Go ahead.
I was going to say, quite a while back in his blog, Richard Carrier did some philosophical, logical inquiry into the idea of an actual nothing. And I'm going to probably misstate what he came to, but here's what it became in my mind, which, there's this huge idiot converter, where from the big ideas to what goes on in my head. But basically is if there were a true nothing, there would be no logic, there would be no rationality, there would be no rules. They wouldn't exist because otherwise it would be a nothing. They might be abstract things, but that's not nothing. And so, if there ever actually was nothing, there's nothing to stop something coming from nothing. And I know that sounds very
there is
very what's the word?
No common
bullshit
sense.
Philosopher, sophist. So it sounds like sophistry. But if you want to talk about nothing, let's talk about nothing. And we don't need God if there ever actually was a nothing. The thing is, we can't know that there was ever actually a true or actual nothing because there's that darn place. That's what some people call the singularity, at which all of the rules, all of the expectations, all of the principles that we see in the universe just become totally, unknowable. So, was the universe made from nothing? I don't know. Was the universe eternal?
Yeah,
I don't know. Could have been.
You've got all that, but back and forth. Yeah, does the universe start over and over and over again? And Peter Atkins has his theory that at some point what he says again is nothing split in half, and that's why you have, you know, positive and negative, you know, all the duality of everything. But he says, but then of course that had to have been something that's split in half. So there's always, we'll go back to breakfast tacos, everything comes from pre-existing stuff as far as we know.
You only have two ways to go here, because nobody believes now that the universe is eternal. We know it.
There's people that believe again, this is there was something before the Big Bang. Even Stephen Hawking and everything said there was something before the Big Bang. He called it a different type of time, right? Where energy was just folding onto itself, but there was something before the Big Bang. So there's not a nothing in the Big Bang, right?
Well, the thing is, and the thing that we have to remember is that your common sense is going to completely break down when you get close to that singularity, that the place where expansion, you know, is very, very close to just nanoseconds after it happened. Basically, physical laws break down, all the constants break down. But what the most important thing that breaks down is causality and time, because there cannot be anything before the Big Bang anymore. There can be anything north of the North Pole. And our common sense cannot handle what is really going on here, and that is a four-dimensional space-time universe, right? Where everything is sort of, because it's four-dimensional, is sort of all happening at once, but you can't say that because there is no at once outside of it for it to happen in, right? So all
That's
of this
it.
breaks down. So when he says appeal to your common sense, that is where he is full of shit. You cannot, it doesn't have anything to do with common sense. And when they finally start getting around to the mathematics that describes what might have been happening at that, you know, as we project backwards in time, it is not going to be anything that we can handle with our common sense at all. It's going to be far stranger than quantum mechanics, and nobody is going to get their mind around it, because everything we think about is in terms of what we can pick up, hold, mold, touch, you know, and run away from or run toward. So common sense is not going to work, dude.
And I think
this
pretty
goes
much
on and on and on. This fucking bullshit.
Yeah, well, the idea when they're saying the nothing, that's just because there was no universe yet, right? That's basically the nothing, you know.
Yeah, it would be that this thing here was not in the condition that it is now.
Yeah. But there isn't that they're saying that there wasn't something though before the Big Bang. There was something. That's what they're trying to figure out, is what set off that energy, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't something. It isn't going to be something causal. It isn't going to be something in time, because causality is always regularity in time. It's going to be something far stranger, something that we cannot possibly get our little primate brains around. Our primate brains developed swinging through trees and picking fucking fruits, and we're not going to get our minds around the physics that is coming. So stop it with this obvious and common sense and bullshit, and we came from nothing. Just stop.
That's right.
You munchkin.
At the beginning. And so you only have two options here. The universe was either came from nothing.
No, that's not an option.
You know, before the universe was, what was there? Well, physically nothing. And so if the universe came from nothing.
Yeah, we just explained there's nobody's saying nothing. Everybody says, when they say that it came from nothing, there's always more to that, right? You can't stop when they say that. That's what I was trying to say. It's just kind of a word they use, but then they go on to explain, but it had to be something that did X, Y, Z, right?
Yeah. And it could well be like Scott said, there's no reason why something can't come from nothing. There's nothing in nothing to prevent that. I think is that paraphrasing you correctly, Scott? I don't know.
Yes, to assume that nothing is such that you're not allowed to have something come from nothing is to have basically a universe with one rule, but that rule is not nothing. so you don't have a nothing.
It's
it
just
could be the
word they use, you know what I mean? And that's where it gets cherry picked, as they say, see, they said nothing. And it's like,
I tried to get a theist.
Language. Yeah.
I tried to get a theist to define nothing, and even asked a clarification for that at one point in a side chat on some channel. And he accused me of something. I wouldn't say sophistry. Maybe that's what he said, but he just kind of shrugged it off, thought I was trying to trap him or something. But really, I was just wanting the guy to consider the question and have an answer.
Yeah.
Right. And Mike
and they don't consider it to that level of would it be fidelity? I don't know, precision.
Yeah, nothing is a common sense idea that is not going to apply around that to the whatever the hell it is that caused us to be here, right? Nothing is not possible. I mean, it's just it's not nothing before, after, causality, all that bullshit is our common sense stuff, because we are basically apes swinging through trees picking fruit, and that's what we understand. We're not going to be able to understand that the mathematics that is going to go into the physics that is going to give us some clues about what happened at that singularity.
Now, I don't know if you displayed this, but it's about 2 minutes ago, the Shaken Fist said cyclic universe is the only hypothesis that explains everything. I agree, because it takes away that whole appeal to infinite regress bullcrap that we always hear from apologists and things, because the cyclic universe is not infinite regress, it's just infinite cycling. And of course, who knows if it's infinite,
and there might be like an infinity of little nothings out there that are sort of vibrating in and out of existence. And that's all we are right now, is this one little tiny vibration through one dimension. And basically that is our entire goddamn universe. And all that is, all that ever will be, is all in that one little tiny vibration. And there could be an infinite number of those nothings creating all sorts of weird shit out there like us. And we are weird shit, granted. But you've got to stretch your mind way beyond common sense and these words that we use every day to represent, I know that I have a coffee cup here, and that's how stupid I am. That's all I can think.
Me too.
It's what's around me, what I can grab, what I can, I can pet my cat, whatever. So, I mean, we got to stop trying to fucking do what physics can't do yet. I mean, the greatest, brightest minds in the world cannot come anywhere near these concepts. So why does this munchkin think he can with his fruit picking mind?
What they like to use the argument, the creationists like to use the argument that why hasn't science answered everything? Just because we live in such a technological age, but this modern age of science with going to space and computers and everything, it really isn't that old, and it's like demanding in a matter of decades, give us all the answers. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, hold on a second, how about letting them do the work? A little patience, right? It's a lot of work.
Yeah. It's only been 150 years that we crawled out of the trees, sort of. The supernatural tree. We haven't been going that long.
And and a lot of these things they're doing, computer models. Well, guess what? You need a computer to do computer models, and those are relatively new. A lot of this stuff. The James Webb Space Telescope. Oh, how come it hasn't answered everything? And it's like the thing just launched. You know what I mean?
We got a lot of
get some
good
answers. Yeah,
we got a lot of good comments in chat, by the way. And unfortunately, when you watch on TV, you don't get the chat playing back. So,
by the way, I don't know if this had to do with the latest, greatest telescope or if it was other kinds of technology involved, but did you see on Anton Petrov where they did a 3D mapping or modeling or whatever of an exoplanet's atmosphere?
Oh.
no, I didn't.
That's pretty cool. They're starting to get down to the atmosphere level on some of these.
I know. I saw the video on the big telescope that's down there in Chile, I believe. They're building another one right nearby it. That's going to be like I guess the maximum they can go with size on these land-based telescopes.
Yeah,
it's got all these mirrors that work in unison, and it's supposedly it's going to give us great images from a land-based telescope. So it's
and I just watched a video
down there, the real big telescope or something like that they call it.
RBT, real big telescope. Yeah, that sounds like a great name for it. Like,
yeah, they're building a sister one just down the road that's going to be even bigger than that one. So, yeah,
I watched this astrophysicist or astrobiphysicist, and she made a really good case for we are right on the cusp of being able to detect whether or not there is alien life based on these signatures that are coming back with wavelength signatures from the planets. We're at the point now when the planet goes by the star and it changes the light a little bit. We start getting a different set of frequencies in the spectral frequencies. We can detect certain molecules that will give us the signature of life. And we're within 50, maybe even 10 years of being able to say, oh, that planet has life. What you going to do then, Christian? What's your move going to be next? Oh, it says in the Bible. It predicts that in the Bible. In Romans, some bullshit number. It basically they talk about other worlds or something like that, and they're going to fucking absorb it. Anyway.
Yeah, it's the VLT, the Very Large Telescope. That's what it.
Oh,
and they're building a bigger. They're building a bigger one. What is it? The very large one is 8.2 meters, 27 feet in diameter.
What they need to develop.
The new one's going to be bigger. Yeah.
What they need to develop first is the BNC, the Better Naming Commission.
Yeah, they weren't very creative. They just called it.
No, they weren't
very large. What's the new one? Is it the GMT, the Giant Magellan, maybe? Chile? I think that's what it's going to be. Anyway, yeah, they're building a new one, and it's huge. You can look it up on YouTube. There's the construction video on there. It's going to be huge.
Or the universe came from God. Now, which one's the extraordinary claim? Which one requires extraordinary evidence? It seems obvious that it's nothing. Let me say.
See, he's talking about belief in God is common and has been common for years. That's not the number of people that believe in a God or a supernatural being is not the extraordinary claim. The extraordinary claim is that there is a being that frequently overturns the laws of physics, and he has done so. Okay, show us the evidence. No, you just got to believe. That's the claim is something supernatural has taken place, not that people believe it. People believing something doesn't make it true.
Show me one goddamn example of a supernatural carrot being created by a supernatural being. Show me a carrot, for God's sake. We don't need a universe. We just need a carrot. I want you just to put that up for me.
I've seen some
Once.
pretty far out looking carrots.
Have you? Oh yeah, yeah. There are some
This way.
incredibly odd ones.
You say, well, I don't believe God exists. I'll tell you what I'm 100% sure that doesn't exist, and that's nothing.
Well,
Good on you.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing
And the
doesn't
Stanford
exist.
Yeah, I looked up the Stanford Encyclopedia says nothing is incoherent. So
Yeah. So what he said is that if you've eaten all your jelly beans, then your jelly beans don't exist anymore. So and that doesn't exist.
And
so, anyway.
I always bring up that theists believe, especially Christians, Judaism, and Islam, in ex nihilo. That is something from nothing, right? Just to point that out.
Even if you say, okay, that's an extraordinary claim that the universe came from nothing, can you see anything else that, comes into existence from nothing?
Well, as I think Mike was saying earlier, or Scott, whichever, that in this quantum level, that things can basically fluctuate in and out of existence, and when they fluctuate into existence, you get matter, energy, and when they fluctuate out of existence, you don't. But it's also that what Peter Atkins mentioned again is that there's this split in the universe. You've got positive and negative. You've got matter and antimatter. You know what I mean? You've got energy and anti-energy, right? As everything is, you can either say cancels each other out or balances each other out, right? So these things all exist.
And he's claiming that God created it from nothing. There was nothing but God. And then of course, if you ask him what created God, and it's like God always was, well, we could say that whatever we have here, this universe, this four-dimensional space-time universe, it doesn't have a beginning or an end because it is time itself. That was
when you ask him about well, why can't the universe be eternal? I mean, we know the universe exists. We don't know that about God. Why can't the universe be eternal? Well, look at how pretty our stained glass windows are. There's some special pleading that is done to make God, or I guess by presupposing a God that answers all, that accounts for everything. Okay. And
it no matter what, however you want to describe this, again, it's never a nothing other than just in the language they're using. But they're always describing something. And even when they don't have an answer, they will say, this nothing did this or that, because it's kind of just language, right? It's not actually saying that nothing did something, because obviously if you could describe something doing something, then it no longer becomes nothing, right?
I can't find anything like that. And so it's an extraordinary claim. That's my point here.
No, it isn't.
And even what's the evidence for nothing? Well, there is no evidence for nothing because nothing doesn't exist.
All right.
You need to ask the evidence for nobody, because that's who's saying that everything came from nothing.
Yeah, once again, ex nihilo. You might think it's a little silly to believe in that, but you might want to check your religious texts. Ex nihilo, from nothing, God made everything.
Yeah, and if God made the universe, why can't he make me a carrot?
That's right.
I mean, it's not asking a lot.
Ordinary. I mean, it would have to be out of sight or extraordinary evidence to think that the universe came from nothing.
And again, we're a third of the way through here, and it's still going on about the nothing. And no, nobody says there's an actual nothing. These arguments always come down to something. It's just usually an unknown something, and they often use the wording nothing, but it doesn't actually mean a nothing, because as we said earlier, you got to have a little patience. A lot of people are trying to get answers to these things, and then maybe you'll have an answer and they won't have to use the descriptive language that they're using.
Oh my God! And then we have to wait another 5 minutes before he gets to Louis
And
Pasteur and life being created from
All right,
nothing.
That
gonna
is the
roll. Here we
claim
go.
of atheism here.
No, it
Number
isn't.
2.
See, there it is. This is called a straw man.
Now-
Even if
now we're
one
going abile,
atheist
right?
believes in this, whatever you just said, it doesn't mean that is a tenet of atheism or any of this. No, you're adding to it. Don't do that.
I think it's an extraordinary claim to think that life came from non-living matter. You know, there's a running scientific investigation back for all the way from the Middle Ages all the way through until the 1800s and Louis Pasteur. It was called spontaneous generation. They believed that Aristotle.
Yeah,
It's a supernatural belief. Yes, that was a supernatural belief. Pasteur
So
investigated it with science.
And why did they believe crap like that 180 years ago? Because they didn't have much science, right? Now we
Yes.
do have science, right? And
Yes.
and what is he asking us to believe in? Something from 2,000 years ago.
And he's
How
also
much
going
better
to
is
do
that going to
the
fare?
he's also going to do the answers in atheism, or answers in, excuse me. That was, see, it's easy to mess up. The answers in Genesis crew that loves to cite what? Here it comes.
Aristotle believed that life could come from non-living matter if it had enough heat. That's what Aristotle said pretty much. Has to be called virtual heat or living heat, something like that. It had to be hot enough. And so, you know, they went back and forth for years and years. Even the Middle Ages, they believed in spontaneous generation, that life came from non-living matter. But Louis Pasteur slammed the lid on that. He conclusively proved that life cannot originate from non-living matter.
No, that's not what he did. That wasn't the experiment.
And he went around and did lecture tours. And here's what he said in his lecture tours in 1864. He said this: life only comes from life. We call it the scientific law of biogenesis.
There's my buzzer sound.
The law of biogenesis.
No, the law of biogenesis is not a scientific law. It is called the law of biogenesis. And answers in Genesis, I got it right that time, loves to cite this. I think is it Brian, I think, over there that just says it over and over in almost every little talk or video that he makes.
Yeah, somebody.
It is not a scientific law. And what Louis Pasteur disproved was a supernatural claim, things like flies appearing on meat, that they just appeared there supernaturally. And what Louis Pasteur did was he isolated the outside environment from some kind of a broth or whatever he had in there. And then he found out that you don't get these external things showing up when the environment is sealed off from the outside. So these things were not spontaneously appearing. They were coming from the air or your hands or whatever, right? Is there anything else I missed? Is that what he did, Mike?
Yeah.
He disproved a supernatural claim, right? That's what he did.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if he wants to stop medical science at 1860, just like he stopped, evolutionary biology and origins of life research.
Is he going to get to the Miller-Urey experiment here?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. I've heard so many people make fun of the Miller-Urey experiment lately. For some reason.
Well,
but
actually, that's coming to. We're taking a new look at that, and it was found out that the glass that they did it in, I think it was a borosilicate or something like that, had a lot to do with the whole thing. And they tried to reproduce it without the glass, and it doesn't work. But the glass is something that existed in the Earth very, very at the time when we think all of this stuff happened, right? All these biomolecules were created. So the Miller-Urey experiment has come into new light. And they also found out that they only got a few of the amino acids. There were many, many more amino acids that were created in that experiment.
Yeah, they went back and looked at all the material that was left over and found that. Also,
it's coming due.
Star Song is very correct in saying abiogenesis is not the same thing as spontaneous generation.
Right. Yeah,
because
it didn't
I wondered
if
we could ever get a Christian. Of course we could. There's different varieties of Christians, but I wonder if we can get some Christians who are creationists or just being very simplistic and wanting to stop all their thinking back in 1860. Can something be not life, yet closer to life than something else? Like rocks aren't life, of course, but can something be, 3 to 5% closer to life than other things? Can some things be 50% closer to life, but still not be life? Or can they be 90% closer to life and not be life? In other words, abiogenesis isn't saying, rocks and ash and what have you, maybe a little water, a little salt, just kind of boiled together one day, and boom, you had a bacteria or eukaryote or whatever kinds of things you could have.
Right.
You had things that were forming that were close to life, but not quite life yet. Yet, when kind of brought together in a close proximity, in a helping manner to one another, soon or eventually became something we could consider life, or something that could be considered life.
I have a complaint.
About me?
No.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, just write a letter and I'll forward it to the right department.
Right. I posted. I did some good nucleic acid this morning, and YouTube wouldn't let me post that comment, so I had to break it into I did some, and then good nucleic acid, and then I got away with it. What in the hell is wrong with YouTube's algorithm?
I got a warning. I got a warning message one day, and my comment I didn't even think was all that bad or anything.
I know.
It's
like so.
There's something new
rolling
joke, around.
You idiot.
Not on atheism. Atheism has to believe that at least this one time they don't believe in spontaneous generation either, except that one time when it first started from non-living matter.
No, that's not a tenet of atheism.
No.
An atheist can be completely.
Do you believe in God?
Okay, an atheist can be completely agnostic. I do not believe in God. An atheist can be completely agnostic about the origins of the universe or the origins of life. There's absolutely no reason for an atheist to hold any opinion on that at all.
Yeah.
Life could have formed a million different ways, and it doesn't matter to me. An atheist doesn't believe in God.
Yeah, I read the atheist charter, and nowhere in there does it say we have to believe that life came from non-life.
Right.
And a lot of definitions for words have a lot of definitions, a long definition, etc. When you look up what an atheist is, it says noun, doesn't believe in God. It's not really that complicated. Okay, it isn't. Okay, and I'm okay. I don't know where life came from. I don't know where the universe came from. But ultimately, that doesn't really matter, because I put it back on the theist that your arguments have not convinced me. That's what it is. And when I do listen to some of these arguments, and you can get as philosophical and mumbo jumbo, Jim Bob or any of his crew over there, it ultimately comes back to you're proving the God of the Bible, right? Yes. All right, then we're going to go to these stories in the Bible, like the magic zoo boat, that are just ridiculous, okay? So then you have to say, well, what is literal, what's not literal, and that whole argument ensues, okay? I'm going to point out that you're trying to give me this big, fancy, philosophical mouthful of very large words like William Lane Craig or somebody running it off to prove this awesomest God and everything and stuff. And then you also have to explain the silliness in there, like talking animals, talking plants, the magic zoo boat, the parting of the Red Sea. Yeah, all these things, and the flood, all these things that are ridiculous and or did not happen.
Yeah. Yep. And James Tour, because he is such an exceptional organic synthetic chemist, he proved that all these biomolecules cannot possibly have formed by themselves. Yet they just recently found a lot of those biological molecules on the Bennu asteroid. So apparently God created life here, and then he managed to sprinkle a bunch of remnants from life all over the asteroids for some reason.
Yep.
Right? So shit is happening out there in abiogenesis that these dudes are not really keeping up on. So anyway.
Primordial soup and the lightning and so forth. That's an extraordinary, I'm going to tell you what, that's an extraordinary claim.
Yeah, when you say it just like, there was magic soup and it got hit by lightning.
Yeah, magic soup.
Well,
that's an extraordinarily behind the times and unnuanced view of what's being researched today.
Yeah.
That makes a short scientific paper too, doesn't it?
Yeah, I went to Sam's Club and bought a case of mushroom soup and a couple cases of chicken noodle soup, and I stacked them one on top of the other and waited during a lightning storm for a reptile to crawl out of that, and it didn't work.
Oh, one of the videos that rolls around every once in a while, you've probably seen it, where the apologist is using a jar of peanut butter.
Right.
And he says, look at all the things in this jar of peanut butter. So eventually I should open one up and something should crawl out. And it's like, well, not if they, processed it.
I've had that happen a few times. I wouldn't recommend
preservatives.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, my yard smelled like soup for a long time. So that happened.
Did you know, even from a mathematical standpoint,
and
when the mathematicians got involved in this, it really shook the world. Wow. I think they realized that mathematically, life from non-life is actually mathematically impossible. They figure the odds of that.
This is baloney.
Some idiots did some back of the envelope calculations, misunderstanding probability and statistics entirely, and proved that none of us can really exist either, because it's too goddamn improbable with all the events that had to happen for any of us to be here today. It is too improbable for that to happen. So we're not here.
The
end the stream, Dave, we're not here.
The odds of us being here are 1 because we're here. The odds of us not being here, it's like, what are you talking about? First of all, it doesn't make any sense. How do you make up odds of us not being here? And as Mike and I have talked about numerous times, these numbers are always different.
Sanford and Sal Cordova and Baumgarten, I think, is the mathematician they got working for them, have come up with the and Douglas Axe, all these idiotic calculations that do not in any way resemble what happened. So screw them and screw your mathematicians, dude.
And as we've pointed out, these numbers are never the same. They
show us the envelope and the back of the envelope where you wrote down all those equations.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things like that are impossible. The fact that gravity, the rate things coming together, and the cosmological constant, things spreading out, does have to be perfectly balanced to an infinite degree, virtually, or we wouldn't even exist at all. Hence,
once again, we are here. These things mean nothing. This is the fine-tuning argument. Everything has to be just so, or we wouldn't be here. But we are here, so all those things are as they are. If it was different, it would be different. Okay, you're right. It would be different if it was different. What more does it mean than that, Mike?
Nothing. It's garbage.
That's all they're
basically
saying, right?
Misunderstanding probability. Yeah. So
if I make a recipe different, it's going to make something different. Yes. Right.
Somebody came up with a video this morning on the fine tuning argument being the worst argument ever. Did you get that one too, Scott? And I'm trying to find it.
Sean Carroll is
James Fodor just did one.
James Fodor,
yeah, I'm getting a link to it right now.
Okay.
Sean Carroll said that fine tuning is the best argument theists have. It's also a terrible argument.
Yeah. Yep.
Back to the creation declares the existence of God. And so if you have, and that's your claim, that this is just, it all happened by luck. Life happened by luck. The universe itself happened by luck. Listen, that's an extraordinary claim.
That's why I've never made that claim. And once again, I don't know anybody that does. Mike, have you made this claim?
Scott, what was the claim again? I was typing.
Any of
what
these
did we
things.
claim? No,
yeah,
I didn't claim this shit.
And none of this stuff. No, it's a big no. Okay, the point of this is everything he's saying is no. An atheist does not believe in God. Atheist
I don't believe in a big
not
daddy.
A scientist. Yeah, it doesn't make you a scientist. It doesn't make you a theologian. It doesn't make you a cosmologist. None of those things. You're just not convinced of a God for all kinds of reasons. Or maybe it was, something that was a little more, unfortunate, and you had some kind of bad response, and that's why you left. The all kind of reasons that people do not believe, but it only comes down to that. At the same time, you cannot do a Ray Comfort, stick a microphone in your face and say, well, where'd the universe come from? I don't know. Okay. I don't know.
Some poor 17 or 18-year-old kid, right? Exactly. Tell me where the universe came from. Kid.
Where the universe come from? If you don't know, you're going to hell. It's ridiculous. Okay, no, an atheist doesn't believe in God for many reasons, and I like to point out there was a point in time where Christians were called atheists by the Romans. So you see how that works? Is it clicking in? You didn't believe in their gods, so you were an atheist. Understand that? That's
hey, Scott, who wrote Romans? The Romans?
Paul.
Paul wrote Romans?
Thank you, Dave. I face-palmed before I unmuted myself, so.
Well,
and it was
there was a church in Rome.
It was a letter to the Romans.
And so Paul wrote a letter to them, and that's what's called Romans.
Oh, I thought maybe the Romans wrote.
And I like to point out that Paul's letter to the Romans was about their behavior, right? So,
well, somewhat, maybe, but it was more him trying to impress them as his theological acumen.
It was, you goddamn Romans, get off my lawn.
And you're doing it, you're doing it wrong, Rome. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, get off my lawn, Romans.
Which makes you real popular. And again, they're saying, some of these things, and even if you take these stories about the disciples being persecuted, which isn't in the Bible, then it seems like, they started trouble in areas where you shouldn't be starting trouble, right? Especially with the Roman Empire. Okay. It just, you know what I mean? You kind of know better that you go lip off to a Roman, something bad might happen to you, swift
Did
justice
right
there on the street. Right?
Did they nail Paul to a tree?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think he might have been beheaded because he was a Roman citizen, so they didn't crucify Roman citizens generally. Okay.
Yeah, Peter was the one that supposedly was crucified upside down. But these things aren't in the Bible.
especially when you talk about the odds against that mathematically. You would never take those odds to
They're
Las
nonsense.
Vegas. And my question, if you want to take them to Las Vegas, don't take them to your funeral. Don't live your life as if these things, these extraordinary claims, which have virtually no evidence. This idea.
You haven't made any extraordinary claims. You've said a lot of things that are not any claims by any atheists. And as I pointed out, the whole from nothing argument is a theist belief. And these other things are just, you're quote mining people and thinking you're making a point about atheists, which again, there's no tenets of atheism. People just don't believe for a lot of reasons. That's it. Stop adding to it.
Yeah, deconverted man just put in a nice statistic. I could see he was working on his probability computer while we were talking.
There you go. There are 10,000 plus gods. The odds of yours being right is 1 out of 10,000 plus.
And there are an infinite number of metaphysical stories that you can make up to account for what we have now. So the odds are 1 over infinity, which equals 0. That's right. The odds.
We just use math against you. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's I often hear that. It's when they say, "What are the odds of life arising?" It's like, what are the odds of a God existing? Right? How do you make these numbers up? Well, you make them up. That's so. Nope. Another big buzzed out. These things are not what atheists say or believe or anything else. Atheists do not believe in God. Stop there.
Idea of extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. It leads to another argument that I've heard, and the inimitable Lawrence Krauss, the cosmologist and theoretical physicist, brilliant guy. Here's what he says. He says, I'm not really an atheist. I'm a non-theist. Basically what he says, if there was enough evidence, here we go again, if there was enough evidence for the existence of God, I'd be happy to believe in God, but there's just not any. He would think there's probably no evidence for the existence of God. And I'm thinking, yes, but look at what you do believe. You believe the universe. He wrote a book, A Universe from Nothing. That, I'm telling you, surely you can understand that's an extraordinary claim. And he's written an entire book to try to provide evidence for that. And what he does in his book is simply change the definition of nothing. And you have to do that because otherwise it just doesn't fly at all.
Wait a minute.
That's not what he did in his book.
When did Mr. Arsenal, or I'm not sure what his last name is, when did Mr. Dan here ever give a definition of nothing? If he wants to say, oh, it's just a common sense word. No, you need to give a definition, especially if you're going to accuse somebody of changing the definition. What definition is your definition?
And Lawrence Krauss's book is on the desk here, and when they asked about him, he said that it's one of those things that you work out with the publisher is what the title of your book is going to be. You want to catch people's eye and it's advertising, okay? So, but he clearly says that what he's describing is something.
Krauss was talking about quantum fluctuations. That it could be just a fluctuation, right? Which is what I talked about earlier, that we could just be a slight vibration out of nothing. And doesn't make us very special, does it?
Yeah, it's just a really poor, very poor example when you're using the so-called clickbait title of a book. Okay. It means nothing. Again, this doesn't mean nothing. I don't really care. Take Lawrence Krauss out of the picture, although, he's done a lot of discoveries and stuff, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what Lawrence Krauss says. It doesn't matter what Lawrence Krauss believes. Lawrence Krauss doesn't believe in God. I don't believe in God. That's it.
Yeah.
Anything else either one of us say or do or believe or experience, Doesn't matter. We just both
Lawrence
don't
Krauss
believe in
had some-
God. That's the only thing we share. Right.
Krauss had some other faults that got him thrown out of the university too, I think.
Krauss has some faults.
Yeah.
Krauss has personal life things. That's his business. Okay. But, Lawrence Krauss says, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Okay. Ultimately, I don't care. I appreciate his science and everything. But if he went off on a tirade, making a video, saying all kind of nasty things about donuts or something, I don't care. It doesn't have any bearing on my not believing in your God. None.
Oh, please highlight B.S. Lewis's comment about a quantum ape, so that we have it for posterity. What beautiful poetry this is.
I'm a quantum ape formed in a primordial.
Okay. Dave,
I can't tell.
your homework
Primordial
assignment
pool of
is to
nothingness.
make that into a song.
Yeah, make that into a song. There you
Yeah.
That'd make
I want to hear it on one of these Saturdays from now. I want to hear that song in honor of B.S. Lewis.
What did Star Song say about
I'm willing to believe in nothing, but I need more evidence for God.
No. And I don't need more evidence for God. See, he just threw in that I need more evidence for God. When did you give me any evidence for God? What you gave me was Romans saying, look at the trees. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what you've given me. And I'm sorry, but that also goes on to say, it's my fault for not seeing the invisible things. Well, excuse me for not seeing the invisible things. Once again,
evidence.
There's big, deep philosophical arguments for God. And then almost every apologist, gentlemen, how many shows have we done where they've repeated Romans, right?
So,
almost every one of them does, right? And I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore. Quit repeating Romans. I don't care.
So do these guys go to bed every night and say, God, please, God damn it, show up. These atheists, they don't believe in you. Please show up. Create us a carrot. Do something supernatural. Come on, dude. You can do it.
Create us a carrot, but then use it to feed the poor. Wouldn't that be a worthy?
Break it into like loaves of bread, loaves of carrots.
Well, and it's always the lame excuse of, God is mysterious and God wants you to believe without him showing himself and all these things. And it's like, well, he did it a lot in the Bible. It seemed a long time ago he showed up all the time and people believed because it showed up, right? Yeah. But nowadays you say, well, you just got to believe, right? There's no more showing up. And then you got to question, well, why doesn't it show up anymore?
I'm not going to give you any evidence about how my real estate scheme works until you give me some money. And then I'll show you the evidence after you give me some money.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah, it's a good plan. Buy into that.
I'm willing to believe in spontaneous generation, at least that one time.
No.
What's the evidence for that?
Straw man. That's a fallacy,
What?
Straw man, it's misrepresenting what Pasteur did. No. And atheists don't walk around saying that. No. Stop it.
Has he ever read an article or a book kind of summarizing or outlining what they're doing and kind of what the working hypotheses are in what do they call it? Origin of life research. Abiogenesis research.
Oh, they got Donnie Deal's hard at it.
What's that? What's he doing?
Donnie Deals is hard at it. He's
right now.
Well, I'm just joking.
Oh, yeah.
He repeats Nathaniel Jensen. I don't know. He's trying to get him to be a guest on the show or something. I don't know. He's always got his book right there in the background. Nathaniel Jensen.
Jensen kind of like hides in the shadows, with his books, and he's this real serious guy, and it's like, I prove that, where the Native Americans came from, like 400 AD, they ran away from the Romans, I think is what his theory is. That, you know, it's like, okay, I think somebody would have wrote something down.
And Ken Ham is not related to Ham that got off of Noah's Ark. How about that?
Oh, wow. There's some irony.
What is it? Dr. Dan has had Nathaniel on a few times. Nathaniel has crept out a few times here and there. Almost everybody else, other than Danny Faulkner that took the Hugh Ross challenge, AIG doesn't really do a lot of stuff outside a house.
Yeah.
And Dan Jeanson has only crept out maybe a half a dozen times. Yeah.
They let him out of the basement once in a while, and he comes on with Ken Ham and does a little thing, and he's real serious and his brows furrowed.
I've got a meme that's you're calling emergency, and it says hello, what's the emergency? And it's like, I'm locked in this basement. This freak's got me locked in this basement. Come help me. This and that. And, hold on, he's coming. It's, Danny Faulkner or Andrew Snelling or any of them. Yeah, you gotta wonder. It's really weird.
I don't know, but I'm not willing to believe in God. I need more evidence.
Evidence, not more
Some
evidence. Some evidence. And yes, technically the Bible is evidence. It's also very weak evidence.
I'm willing even to believe in an infinite number of universes that we can't see at all, and there's absolutely no evidence for.
Okay, once again, I don't believe in infinite universes. I do not believe in God. There are theories that there are multiverses, infinite universes, that everything is just like a big foam, and there's all these universe bubbles that are up against each other. There's all these kinds of ideas. Got nothing to do with it, okay?
Is this guy pretending to be Lawrence Krauss as he's speaking? I mean, is everything he's saying, I don't believe in, or I'm willing to believe in multiple universes? Is he like making himself into a straw man of Lawrence Krauss?
Possibly.
Speaking. Okay, because who's this I that he's talking about? Just the general atheist, which none of this stuff is
none of it
a prerequisite for atheism?
Yeah, it's not at all, and I don't hear any atheists saying these things either.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a Denny's somewhere in some city where you have all these atheists claiming that they believe in multiple universes, and that's why they're an atheist. And if you don't believe in multiple universes, you can't be an atheist.
Yeah.
Here we go again. Go ahead. Sorry, Mike.
Do you know what's mind blowing about the multiverse? Basically, if there are multiverses, we think, okay, there's our universe, and then right next to it there's another one, and then next to that one there's another one, and next to that one. No, that isn't how it could possibly work, because there is no space-time out there, right? So if there's no space, things can't be further apart than other things.
Yeah.
They all have to be here all at once. Okay, so there is no space. And that's what's really freaky about the idea of multiverses.
Okay, I think Ryan Murphy just asked the most important question of all.
Mixed fabrics, yeah, there you go.
Because you can't do that in Judaism. You can't do mixed fabrics.
Yeah, right.
And ultimately, too, when a quantum physicist is trying to explain something to the lay person, it often comes out in language that, like, what is it? A science communicator. Okay. A science communicator is just, trying to give people an idea, but it is so much different, when what they're dealing with, when they're doing their work, when they're trying to explain something to the general public on a news channel. Are you drawing, Mike?
I'm drawing a little, well, basically, okay, the idea is here's our universe, and here's, the other one, and another one, and then there's this one over here that's further away. But what I'm saying is that there is no space-time out there. Okay, this thing that would be outside of the universe can't be outside of the universe because there is no outside. So everything would have to be all here all at once, right? Because there is no space-time except within the boundary right here in our universe. We have space-time. So when you start thinking about this stuff, you very quickly realize that common sense is not your ally in thinking about this shit. Because you have to drop all these ideas about bubble universes and like going on forever and ever. There is no forever and ever. There's no space out there. We only have space-time inside the bubble right here.
Let's think of it as a fish bowl, and you have a bunch of fish in there, just kind of swimming around, looking for little flakes of food to eat, and try to explain the just this universe to them, much less a multiverse. How are we going to conceive of it? There is no common sense when you think of it that way. Now, there's common sense if you're in your fishbowl, because you've been bumping around, bumping into, getting finned and chewed on by other fish, and you know how it works. But then there's the bigger universe, or the universe as it is, and that's just your common sense isn't going to get you very far.
Yeah. And your common sense about objects dropping would be very different inside the fishbowl. And all you have to do is take a breath of air, and all of a sudden you float. we could fly if we were fish. We just suck in some air and we'd lift off the ground and we'd rise to the top. Yeah. Anyway, we're not fish. Well, we kind of are. You fish in a fishbowl. So he's a fish. He's got a brain the size of a fish.
But if
no imagination,
if I need more evidence to believe in God.
Yep.
I'm going to conclude with reading you something here.
Okay. One more shot, Dan.
Atheist, Marxist, he could self-proclaim Marxist, and
now we're Marxists too. Okay.
We're Marxists?
Atheists do not believe in God. Stop. If you're a Marxist, okay, go be a Marxist. Okay, I'm not a Marxist. So
what the hell is a Marxist?
This. It's a political ideology and economic ideology.
One of them damn communists.
What is a Marxist?
No.
I asked ChatGPT what a Marxist is. What is a Marxist? Is it an atheist? I don't know.
You need Leo.
It's reasoning. Yeah, Leo is a Marxist, isn't he?
It's a kind of political economic system. It's got, once again, nothing whatsoever to do with not believing in God. It's how you believe the social structure should be handled. Not the same thing.
History is driven by class struggles. That's Marxism. Surplus value, revolution and transition. So I don't see any atheism in here at all. So I don't know.
No, none whatsoever.
No, not a Marxist. Not a Marxist. Sorry.
A geneticist, Richard Lewontin, who lived from 1929 to 2021. So he hasn't been gone that long.
Okay, 1929 to 2021. Did he say 2021?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say he becomes a brilliant person in his field in 1940. You have a 20 or 30 year career. So his career probably wrapped up in 1970.
Yeah.
Maybe he went on a little longer. That's how far behind in the science this guy is that he's about to quote.
Yeah, so Richard Lewontin, let's see, emphasis on interaction. He argued for, basically dynamically interacting with the environment. That was one of his things. So he didn't like genetic determinism, rejection of the nature versus nurture binary. So it's not a binary. It's much more complicated than that. He had some views on race and human variation, and he had some political and philosophical orientations. And I know some scientists that I really respect their work, but you know what? They're Christians. Ick. I should reject everything they say because they're Christians, right?
Yeah, just because they're Christian, their science is no good. Yeah.
Yeah, his emphasis was on a holistic approach to biology, which is pretty much the extended synthesis of evolution today that everybody buys into in biology today, basically. And he had some critiques, I think, of things like fitness and other simple models, basically. But anyway, he blew hard, and people listened to him because he was kind of an important figure in biology. His political leanings have nothing to do with any of that. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure if he's making this statement as a confession or as just a statement of his own faith or lack thereof. Here's what he says. Our willingness to accept scientific claims that are against common sense. Now, keep in mind, here's what my whole point there is, that belief in God is not an extraordinary claim at all, and there is extraordinary evidence for it. Look at the universe. Look at life itself. Look at the way we live.
Look at the trees.
Argument, not even an argument.
That's all you've given is look at the trees. Okay.
Do you realize another claim that atheists have to admit or claim if they are atheists and all is matter, that everything about our human condition is just an illusion?
What?
Everything is an illusion.
Everything's an
I
illusion.
think he got out. I think he expressed what he had to say, and he feels good about it. And now he's got all those little endorphins inside of him, and he's just going to talk some stupid shit because he feels way too good.
So Richard Lewontin said, often quoted remark, about our willingness to accept scientific claims come from his review of Carl Sagan's book, Demon Haunted World, Billions and Billions of Demons. Let's see, in that, Lewontin discusses how people often accept scientific pronouncements even when they challenge common sense. And he touches on the philosophical underpinnings of why science holds such sway in modern society. If you want to see the full context, you can look at the review in New York Review of Books or whatever. Yeah, they like to cherry pick, shit that they're saying. But anyway, Lewontin was kind of a commie. So, and anyway.
You're not really conscious. You really have no free will at all.
Why do we accept scientific claims? Why do we believe in it?
Because the evidence
we're not conscious
supports it.
Okay.
The theories
really works.
Yeah, the theories have been well-founded, and you can repeat the experiments used to support it.
Yep. Yeah, and I can see it in my everyday life. Pick up my iPhone, I'm looking at science. But I pick up my iPhone and I don't see God. I don't see any evidence for God in my iPhone. Nothing. Haven't seen it.
And a lot of these mind experiments or philosophical discussions, about all these different things. Sure, you can have them endlessly, okay? But it doesn't have anything to do with being an atheist. You can be an atheist and you can sit around, Mike might be able to relate, when you're kicking back on the porch and, that fungus is kicking in and you just having all kind of these farm out ideas, right? What if, this and what if that? And thinking all these things and
what if I married my best friend?
That? Yeah.
In fact, me and my best friend were talking about that this morning. What if we'd gotten married? How would our lives have turned out back when we were 16? We never did.
Yeah, what if we're in a video game? What if we're in a simulation? Yeah. What if we're in a TV show for aliens somewhere, right? Where they just tune into what's going on Earth tonight, right? It ultimately, none of these things matter either because we're stuck in this reality and it has nothing to do with me not believing in God.
Yeah, like what if we're the Truman Show, and instead of Ed Harris, it's like a bunch of aliens who are just kind of staring at us.
Exactly. But these arguments all fall short because, like, well, he kind of escaped, in that show. But if you can't escape it, if you have to be born, live, and die in this, whatever it is, it's still the reality we're in. And it seems to follow the laws of physics. It seems to follow the laws of nature and all these things. And the supernatural claims then do become the extraordinary claims, not the natural explanations or thinking about what they could be. With a lot of the theories he mentioned, well, what if the universe is this or that, or many universes? These are a lot of possibilities people ponder, but this, and again, isn't something that's explained about the natural world. But everything else that's the body of science that we have so far is explaining the natural world. So a supernatural claim is an extraordinary claim.
Really?
Yeah, really.
And that's what they believe.
Super serious.
Now, what's the that's an extraordinary claim, that I'm not conscious. I don't have free will. I can't make decisions on my own. It's all dancing to my DNA according to.
Yep. Now, there are plenty of atheists who believe that we do have free will. I think there are 0 atheists who believe that we're not conscious. Where did this "we're not conscious" thing come from?
There's a lot of things thrown in there.
See, this is why I think he's just so high on his own supply, shall we say, that now he's just starting to spout nonsense from the hip.
Yep.
Yeah, throw a lot of things in there. And I don't know why. If you have good arguments for God, present good arguments for God. Straw manning atheists is not a evidence for God. I think he thinks it is, but it's not.
Richard Dawkins. Listen, if that's not an extraordinary claim, I don't know what is. So I need some really extraordinary evidence for that, and I'm not getting any. My point is, here's what Richard Lewontin is saying. Our willingness, he says, as a scientist, as an atheist, materialist, naturalist, scientist, he says our willingness to accept scientific claims that are against common sense is the key to an understanding of the real struggle between science and the supernatural. And
Yep, that's true. Yeah, that is what Lewontin was talking about.
Yeah.
And he says that, basically it's our materialistic leanings that allow us to believe in what science tells us rather than what religion tells us. And we don't want to let a deity get its foot in the door. And basically that is something to think about. That we do believe that things happen in a material sense, that there is causality and laws of physics and all of that. But why do we believe that? We believe that because every fucking moment of your life, that is what is evident. Okay, that things happen in a causal fashion. You don't believe that you can step out in front of a bus and survive it because you believe in natural causality. So if you believe in natural causality, or if you don't believe in it, then you should step out in front of a speeding bus, right? Okay, and believe in the supernatural. The supernatural is going to save you. So Lewontin was coming down on Sagan for not pointing out that it is a commitment to materialism or naturalism that has us doing it. But my point is that we are all committed to naturalism, including this bozo here. Because he lives he's talking into a camera right now. He's not talking into the void. He's not out in the woods talking into a fog bank. He's talking into a camera, right? And he's got a jacket on. He obviously got dressed. Yeah.
Yeah, he probably knows not to play in traffic.
Yeah. So we're all naturalists.
Ollie, how you doing? Good to see you.
So if you want to go above naturalism, then you have to give us exceptional evidence, right, to go beyond it.
Right. And He fails to understand that. And hello, we got a bunch of folks with Greg and Ollie and P and
Ryan Murphy has
music.
a good quote. Yeah.
And there was a whole bunch of folks who were stopping through. Michael's dropping in. Good to see you, Michael. What was the comment?
Ryan Murphy has a good comment, to paraphrase Aaron Ron. That's kind of a good.
If the supernatural stuck its hand into the natural, I'll come out dripping with physics.
Yep.
I believe Michael Shermer maybe said before that a supernatural claim, let's say you can read somebody's mind as a supernatural claim because there's no evidence you can read somebody's mind. But if it was demonstrated that there's a certain neural chemical reaction going on where somebody could actually connect with somebody else, wirelessly, so to speak, and read each other's minds, then we would have a natural explanation for it. It would no longer be supernatural. So supernatural can also be something that's, like a what if. And then by the turkey shoot, if one of these what ifs hit, they're going to say, aha, see? And it's like, well, no, it's just there are a lot of what ifs. One of them might hit, but you're throwing out a lot of what ifs.
I want to say that's a false dichotomy. There is no contention between science. You know what science means? The literal meaning of it just means knowledge. And the supernatural. Well, here's an extraordinary claim. The natural universe must have caused itself. But nothing can cause itself. It has before it existed.
What I think we already covered that there's nothing preventing the universe from causing itself. So you're just saying something that you can't demonstrate.
Yeah. Oh, where can I find Lewontin's full text?
The very fact that that nature had a beginning demands a supernatural reality to begin it.
I don't see how that follows. You have all these natural explanations, but then there has to be a supernatural explanation in there somewhere. Somewhere there has to be one, even though all the explanations that we do have are natural ones.
What is Yahoo? What is Yahoo? What the fuck?
Is that still around?
Yahoo! The whole webpage, everybody had their Yahoo accounts and their Yahweh Yahoo email.
If I click on the first link, it switches over to something called Yahoo. And I'm not sure what that means. Yahoo.
You just went into a time warp.
I did. I click on that first link, it goes to Yahoo.
And a website seething with malware.
Malware.
Yeah.
Yahweh.
Yeah.
There you go.
The human form of malware lives on that goddamn thing, as I remember. I used to be in chats on that. It was horrifying.
Yeah, I was in some of them chats. They were pretty brutal. They didn't have a whole lot of moderation back then.
Nope. Nope. And the pervs just crawled out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
The perverts crawled out of the woodwork.
Let's keep reading here what Richard Lewontin says. Here's what he says. We take the side of science in spite of the patent absurdity of some of its constructs.
Yeah, that's just, once again, that you got to accept how the results came out, even if they weren't what you expected, right?
Yep. So Lewontin pointed out that we rely on naturalism in our thinking, all of us, and that's why we believe in science, which is not surprising because, as I pointed out, and none of these goddamn philosophers will admit it, but we're all naturalists at heart. We all live our lives according to naturalism. That's why naturalism holds such sway. And Lewontin may have missed that fact. But who the hell cares about Richard Lewontin?
That's right.
He died. He died.
Yeah. He died, and
he got old.
I still don't believe in God. Okay.
Nothing like spontaneous generation. And they would.
Once again, no. I don't believe in spontaneous generation. No, that's a supernatural belief. Okay, that's a religious belief. Supernatural. Okay, you believe in the supernatural beliefs, not us. You're putting them on us, and you're making things up. And once again, misrepresenting what Louis Pasteur did in his experiment. He disproved a supernatural claim with a natural explanation.
Never use that word, but that's what they're believing.
No.
If life came from non-life, non-living matter.
Okay, you can look up the so-called recipe of humans. There's a whole bunch of elements that make up humans. There's even a little bit of gold in your hair. Okay, it's really neat. Not worth a whole lot, just a trace. But there's a whole list of elements that we are made of, okay? Now we have a thing called the periodic table. If you go to the periodic table, I cannot find any of those that are alive. So at some point, you have to take those elements in some manner or another to get them in a living being. That seems to be the chemical reaction that goes on. That is a natural explanation. If there's a supernatural one, you can just say, well, God did it, but all the explanations of how and how the association with other life and everything all so far seem to be natural explanations from science. And again, not from atheists. Atheists don't believe in God. You can be an atheist, or you can be a theist, any kind of theist, or you can be an agnostic, or you can be whatever you want to be. Doesn't matter to me. You can go in the lab and you can show how cells reproduce, or how a tree grows, or any of the things we talked about, and do a good explanation that goes through the process, peer review, everybody else says, yeah, okay, that seems to be correct. And then it's accepted as an understanding of how the tree grows, how it produces the seed, and you get this put into a book and other people can learn it. Got nothing to do, though, with being an atheist.
So I posted a link to Uncommon Descent where they take this quote mining apart of Lewontin and talk about what his real point was. Probably worth a read. I will read it after. So anyway, it's all here. So it's all here.
So once again, this is just another person they're cherry picking things and throwing out names like he just did a moment ago, saying Richard Dawkins, like just throwing that in there because, oh, Richard Dawkins, I know him. He's that evil atheist dude. Once again, I don't care what Richard Dawkins says, okay? Richard Dawkins did whatever research he did. I don't know what he did exactly. Off the top of my head, I have to look it up. But whatever he did as a scientist, he added to the body of knowledge as a scientist. It doesn't matter what he says as an atheist. Doesn't matter what he says as an atheist. He says he doesn't believe in God, then he doesn't believe in God. That's where you stop. That's it. Anything else he says, I don't care. And when he was saying certain things that got him in trouble lately, I really didn't care. Okay? So there you go.
Yep.
And I'm not saying I don't care about the issues. I'm saying I'm not saying that. Okay? That's how much that I don't care what he's saying. I'm not saying that. Mike wasn't saying that. Scott wasn't saying that. Richard Dawkins said some stupid things because somebody stuck a microphone in his face. Okay.
Yeah, I might be a little harsh, but I think after biologists have retired and they're when they start to people start to get to know them and they want to go out and start shooting their mouth off in public, they should be taken out and shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that might be a little harsh. I don't know.
Don Shula was a fantastic NFL coach, right? And he retired, and he owned a boat, and he said, "I'm gone fishing." And people would often say, "Where's he at? How come he isn't doing this and doing that? He doesn't do interviews," because he retired, and he went out on his boat, and he went fishing. You got to
That's what they
respect
should do.
that. You know, you got to respect that.
If
Call
they
them
don't,
up.
they should
this
be
and
taken
that.
out and shot.
Hey, what you doing? You want to do an interview? You want to be a sportscaster? I'm gone fishing. Thank you very much. I'm retired.
Yep.
So that's, if we could all be so lucky to have a great career and be able to retire, and yeah, whatever you want to do, gone fishing, so to speak. It was a
Yeah, and I have
honorable.
I have
thing.
dementia. I have dementia in my near future, and when I start spouting about believing in God, you guys need to take me out and shoot me. Okay,
That's the end of
Please.
that.
the end of that.
Well, how many times does it happen? You know, yeah, they find these people and they just keep sticking a microphone in their face until they say something stupid. It's inevitable.
Chemicals and soup. In
Chemical
spite
soup.
of its failure to fulfill many of its extravagant, extraordinary promises of health and life, in spite of the tolerance of the scientific community for unsubstantiated, that means no evidence, just so stories, because we have a prior commitment, a commitment to materialism.
Oh, just so stories. That's weak. It's like there's libraries filled with scientific papers on scientific discoveries. Just dismissing it away, you might as well have a Hawaiian shirt on where you're just saying it's just lines on paper, right? That's really weak, Dan. Everything has been really weak. You got to stop it. And I wanted to also mention that I saw he made a short and he posted about this from this video. So he seems to be real proud of it. He's pushing it out there. And Dan, it's really bad, okay? Atheists don't say these things. And these other people, if they said this, that, or whatever else, it doesn't matter. It's got nothing to do with being an atheist, okay? I could care less. I could have never heard any of those things. It wouldn't change anything.
Well, he's being honest here. I'm not sure if he's making a confession or a statement of his own faith, but it goes hand in glove for what we're talking about today. Extraordinary claims do need extraordinary evidence.
Yes.
It says, here's what he says to continue. It's not that the methods and institutions of science somehow compel us to accept a material explanation of the phenomenal world, but on the contrary, that we are forced by our a priori adherence to material causes to create an apparatus of investigation and a set of concepts that produce material explanations, no matter how counterintuitive, no matter how mystifying to the uninitiated. And here it is. Moreover, that materialism is absolute, for we cannot allow a divine foot in the door. So here's my conclusion with all this. In the absence of extraordinary evidence, I'm going with common sense.
Yeah, and there you go. That was the problem. You totally missed the point that it doesn't matter if it goes against common sense, and it doesn't matter if you believe in the supernatural. The only way we have to test things is with natural methods. This has been something that's brought up many times, and I've asked many apologists and other religious folks that make these arguments, is that if you have a better method or any method at all to prove it, demonstrate aspects of the natural world, explain aspects of the natural world and your supernatural world, you can present them. But what we have is what he was just saying in that quote is, we have things like the scientific method that deal with the natural world. It doesn't address the supernatural world because there seems to be no test for it. It seems to be an extraordinary claim that you cannot provide evidence for. If you had something, because he keeps saying more evidence, atheists need more evidence. You don't have any any experiments that can be done on the supernatural. The supernatural is the extraordinary claim here. It is not an atheist claim. An atheist doesn't believe in God. If anything, that is rejecting an extraordinary claim, being a supernatural being like God.
He said this is against, that so many of these claims are against common sense. I'm going to go with common sense because there is no extraordinary evidence to the contrary. Even and especially if that common sense leads me to God.
There it is. Even and especially if the common sense over anything that's demonstrable won't change his mind. That's what he's saying, right? And you know who else said that? One of our favorite friends, Bread of Life, Rebecca, said the same thing, that it doesn't matter what the science says. She's going to go with what her so-called gut tells her, right? I'm going to go with the common sense. So it doesn't matter if the science says that the Earth orbits the sun, I'm going to say the sun orbits the Earth because that's what it makes sense to me. And lately, Candace Owens has been doing this too. She's been making the rounds saying, well, I'm just rejecting all the science because it doesn't make any sense to me.
So common sense says dinosaurs are gay?
The dinosaurs are so gay. Yeah.
They're so gay.
And she's such an idiot. Yeah. And she gets paid a lot of money for being an idiot. And sometimes it really hurts me.
Well, she's a useful idiot to some people.
Yeah, but she's worth like millions of dollars being an idiot. And it's just a sad state of affairs, folks. Stop supporting stupid people. They think they're getting somewhere because people keep paying them to be like that. And they're not just doing it for comedic purposes like the Stooges or something, who lived normal lives when they were off camera and when they gave interviews and stuff, unlike Candace here, who's 24/7 completely off her Ritz.
Yeah. So common sense is like a hidden calculator in your brain, and it takes all the stuff that you've learned in your entire life, and it sort of sums things up and allows you to make quick decisions without really looking at all the steps that go into reasoning for that decision, right? So that you can very quickly, like if you start to fall, you'll stick your arms out. Okay, and that's common sense, to stick your arms out. But common sense is only as good as the input you have given your mind. And these Christians have not given their minds enough science input to accept some of these ideas that we all accept as naturalists, that sort of thing. Common sense is not reliable at all. I mean, you cannot distrust common sense. You always have to say, wait a minute, maybe I've been fed inaccurate inputs, and therefore my calculator's coming up with inaccurate outputs. Like if you're adding up your grocery bill and you got on, and your glasses fog over and you just kind of make shit up as you go along, you're not going to come up with a really good, accurate sum. Common sense the same way. And these people have not looked into the actual science, yet they think somehow that they know better. They know better. Whereas most atheists who are not scientists, right, will just accept it on faith. I will admit it's on faith. That's how common sense works, because it's common. I don't know. But if you really want to start questioning it and prove it false, then you've got to do the science. You can't do it with this blathery shit that we've just been listening to. That isn't going to cut it with these common sense ideas. I'm just going to throw out some common sense here, and you're going to admit that God is the only conclusion. Like bullshit. Anyway.
And hello, Eric, joining in. We have had a lot of folks. We've had a lot of chat going on.
Eric Wander.
Appreciate everybody being here. So much chat going on. I really appreciate all the comments going on, all the conversations.
What do I got here?
All the input going on. And we've got the reason I want to cover this is because, for one thing, it really irritated me. And secondly, there's so many of these going around. I go looking around for videos to do on Saturday nights, and so many of these are out there. And I know Deconverted Man did the video I participated in, saying that, including some guy named Aaron Ra was in it. I guess he's well known or something. Love you, Aaron. Saying no, and Mike, you were in there too, weren't you? Saying
Which
no,
one was
we
that?
do not. A Deconverted Man's video.
Oh yeah.
That a whole bunch of atheists. He got a whole bunch because he was same thing too. Frustrated. So many of these videos saying atheists believe everything came from nothing. So there's that, and on top of all the other things he was throwing in, the law of biogenesis. That one always bugs me. It really bugs me. Look it up, okay? Louis Pasteur was not on your side. It's not a law, and he's not on your side, okay? He disproved a supernatural claim, all right?
Yep.
Think about that, okay? With a natural explanation, all right? Yes, he said life comes from life because that was a result of his experiment. That wasn't an ultimate statement of all of biology or abiogenesis, okay? That wasn't it. He disproved a supernatural claim, an extraordinary claim. He disproved naturally. Now, you're still stuck with your supernatural claims are an extraordinary claim. And the best you gave to back it up was, and you think it's all that, is mentioning something in Romans that we like to call look at the trees. Just look around. There's your evidence for God. Okay, well, as I often say, just look around. There's your evidence for Bigfoot. You didn't see him? Well, that's because he's hidden.
Yeah.
There you go. It's not an explanation of anything. It has no explanatory power. And neither does saying you're an atheist. An atheist doesn't mean that you can explain all of everything or even something, nothing. It doesn't really matter. It has nothing to do with it. I put it back on the theists that your explanations haven't convinced us. Or unfortunately, some people had bad experiences. Either way, though, that's back on the theists, I guess, ultimately, right? Either way, we're not convinced. And again, I pointed out Scott was a believer at one time. I wasn't a believer. I just thought it was part of just being a kid, and hearing Bible stories was just like hearing other stories. It was family time. It was social time. And I call me lucky. Okay. My church was a nice church, and I don't remember this hellfire stuff or, people that weren't welcome to come to church or any
Nobody mentioned gay.
Things.
Did anybody mention gay back then? No.
No. Maybe again, I was lucky. All right. But for me, if you came to church, you were welcome. Everybody welcomed you at church. It was church, right?
So I was like 6 years old going to Sunday school in Presbyterian church. And I've said this online before and didn't get canceled for it, but this is really, they had a little book and they showed a picture of God putting cookies in the oven unbaked and then pulling out baked human beings, baked cookies. And then they showed us God putting some in the oven and leaving them in there too long. And they came out a little darker. Yeah. They were burnt. And I'm guessing that the Presbyterian Church has buried those books somewhere, that we can find them under 6 feet of concrete out back, because that really would not go over today. But we were like, 5 and 6 years old. We were looking at the book and listening to the lady tell us, and we were like, what? God did what? He left them in the oven too long? Oh, that explains everything.
I do want to apologize again. I had the background wrong at the beginning. I still had Saturday Night at the Atheist up there. This isn't Saturday Night at the Atheist, although every Saturday we have Saturday Night at the Atheist, and you'll often see Scott and Mike joining us for Saturday Night at the Atheist, as well as Brainless and Simos and other great folks that join us over there. And I just, I mean, we did dissect this a little bit. I didn't think it would take this long.
And when you get to the pearly gates after you die, Dave, God is going to say, you had the wrong background up at the beginning of that video.
Yeah, I
and
know.
Send you straight to hell.
I was disappointed. I tried to have everything ready. I double checked things, and I'm sitting here looking right at it, and it didn't even dawn on me. It's like,
I don't think anybody's going to judge you for it, Dave. I really don't.
Oh, what am I going to do with myself?
Oh, no.
I did get my nice flower picture up, though, because I have spring fever. The snow's melting, and, it's coming. It's coming soon.
It's nice out right now.
Yep. I wanted to have my flower background. So I remembered that, but I screwed up on the other background. There's too many backgrounds. I got this background, that background, all these backgrounds. There's too many backgrounds to keep track of.
Well, that's a good background right there. Hey, I got a free copy of that article, Demons, or Billions and Billions of Demons by Lou.
Oh, you did? How'd you get it?
Well, I bit the bullet and I signed up for spam email by getting a free account to the New York Book Review. And
Can you send it to us?
I'll have to send it via email.
Okay, good. Do that.
But I'll send it to y'all. I don't know. I have Dave's email because he sends me email every day. Well, not every day, every week.
Every week. All hail Bigfoot. Easy to remember. You need to get a hold of me. All hail Bigfoot. gmail.com.
I'll just stand up on the table in the restaurant and go, "All hail Bigfoot," and just have faith that you'll come.
We had a commercial locally that said, "If you can't find our place, just stand out in the intersection and yell the name of the place." It was a local commercial, and we'll come out and get you. Yep.
Okay.
Well, ultimately, though, I wanted to take a look at this because it just came out. I was itching to it yesterday, but it was already getting late and everything. So I said, how about we do it tomorrow? And so, of course, I go to the Answers in Atheism folks because we're serious here at the Captive Desk. We just don't pull in anybody. We go to Answers in Atheism, all right? to get a varied opinion. And again, we have a varied opinion here. My upbringing, Scott's upbringing, Mike's upbringing, we're very different, and we all don't believe in God for different reasons, okay? However, we don't believe that the universe came from nothing. In fact, I'm not a physicist, okay? I really don't have anything to say about it, okay? If I do have these kind of questions, there are people you can ask. Grayson is very up on these things. He can give you what a lot of the latest theories are and everything. You can ask these smart folks. It's okay. They'll lead you to they'll give you the names of the people they're citing, the smart folks that are trying to figure this stuff out. But it doesn't make me a physicist. I just don't believe in God. Okay. I do believe in love. I do believe in what I think is right and wrong. I think a lot of it is societal and cultural, but generally, people try to live by the so-called golden rule, and it seems to work out pretty good. Link in the description for Grayson's channel. Hey, you want to get a lot of that kind of stuff? Go to these folks that talk about it. Folks that know about this stuff. Grayson is an atheist, okay? He knows a lot of the physics and a lot of other science. There you go. I don't, okay? I'll go ask Grayson, and Grayson has answered me my questions in emails and stuff. I appreciate it. Doesn't matter, okay? Grayson knows these things. I don't. And I know things that Grayson doesn't know, all right? Okay, so what? Atheist just means we don't believe in God. So we don't believe in God, Dan. That's it. You have to stop. We don't believe the universe came from nothing. We don't believe in spontaneous generation. We don't care what Richard Dawkins or anybody else has to say. One way or another. Doesn't really matter. People arrive at the decision where they don't believe in God on an individual basis. For many different reasons. And individually, these people, for whatever reason, do not believe in God. Sticking a microphone in your face or putting out these videos like a gotcha Ray Comfort moment. Where'd the universe come from? I don't know. I went on a couple of apologist streams, and sure enough, that's the question I got. Oh, you don't believe? Where'd the universe come from? I don't know. What's that got to do with it? Well, it has to be God. Well, that's okay. Can you demonstrate that? No, you just believe. Ultimately, they just believe. Well, a lot of people believe in a lot of things. And once again, trying to poke holes in science for having only natural explanations when that's all they have to work with is kind of ridiculous, right? The very person you were quoting said basically in those words that we have to deal with the material natural world, thus the scientific investigation relies on that, how it's set up. We cannot investigate your supernatural claims. None of them. None. And it's not just God's. Across the board, any supernatural claims cannot be demonstrated. People believe in a lot of things. There's a long list, way too many to go through of all the things people believe in. None of these things can be demonstrated. So it is an extraordinary claim. Having natural explanations for things is not an extraordinary claim. They've been explained. Things we do not know are things we do not know, and why we have scientists out there trying to figure these things out. And to say, oh, scientists should have all the answers for everything just because we're living in a modern age of science is also absurd. You cannot just demand that science answer everything in a matter of a few years when it's just not possible. I mean, there's no understanding at all of all the different fields, investigating all different aspects of the natural world. Just figuring it all out tomorrow is just not going to happen. So, stop strawmanning atheists. Stop demanding that atheists be scientists, because we're not. I'm not. Scott's not. We're not scientists, okay? We don't believe in God. That's it. And quit, what was the other thing with the throwing in names too. Just at random throwing out names like Richard Dawkins, like that means something, okay?
Yeah.
It doesn't, okay? You think it does, and your fan base might say, oh, haha, Richard Dawkins, yeah, that guy, I don't care what he says, right? Don't
Yeah,
care
he's
what
trying
he
to
says.
it's like the David Goliath thing. You know, you bring down Goliath and the whole army runs away. You know, that's not realistic for one thing. And just because you say something against Richard Dawkins doesn't mean you've convinced anybody to believe in your God. Bring the evidence. Bring actual. Well, we brought evidence. Well, no, you didn't. What you brought was an attempted evidence that we overturned. Where was his evidence anywhere? We saw appeal to authority via, the dogmatic quote of Romans 1:20. We saw straw men all the way down. Basically, don't light a match at Dan's house, or it's going to burn down due to all the straw that's been placed around. All the straw men that have been built and beaten up.
And if you title your video that anything that has to do with atheism, you're going to get the attention of atheists.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at your video and we're going to say, oh, what's he saying about atheists? And then you listen to what they're supposedly saying about atheists, and you're not saying anything about atheists because there's nothing to say about atheists. Once again, you have not convinced me. That's not on me, okay? Now you can say, oh, I just don't want to believe so I can do whatever. And that's nonsense. All right. Because I've asked many times, what am I doing? Right. What do I need this excuse to do? Okay. I'm just a regular guy. I'm married. I have kids. I have dogs. I got a cat. I got my garden. I got my pond. I have my hobbies. What am I doing? Right? I'm not doing anything. Okay? I don't need an excuse to do anything horrible or anything. Right? It's nonsense. My only fault, if I have to stand before your being someday, is not seeing the invisible things. That's the standard. That's all you put out, is that I am not seeing the invisible. That was it, right, Scott? The only thing he said in this entire video was, I'm at fault. He cited Romans. I'm at fault because I'm not seeing what is clearly seen.
Right, and then the accusation of suppressing the truth and unrighteousness.
Yeah, because I want to be bad.
Yeah,
but
you don't see the evidence. You're not convinced, but you're corrupt. So,
and ultimately, if I have to answer for myself, I don't think I'm that bad of a person. Okay. If the only fault that's going to be held against me in this cosmic court is that I didn't believe your religion, not because of the big arguments, but because of all the silly arguments. As I said, you want me to believe in this all-powerful being that got mad at the earth and flooded it and killed everybody and put some things on a magical zoo boat. It becomes ridiculous. It becomes the point of there has to be either a demented person telling these stories that's just completely different of reality, or it has other meanings. Like maybe floods happen. People tend to live by water. And when you live by water, you have to deal with flooding. So there obviously would be stories about floods. And these stories would get exaggerated a little bit to make a good story, because that's what sticks in people's minds, and people remember these things, right? But when you want to be a literalist and take everything literal from these old texts, it becomes silly. And I think you're being silly. And I don't mean to disrespect people, but I'm sorry, it sounds silly. And you're not going to say this divine, ultimate, all-knowing God is doing a magic zoo boat in the same breath without me just laughing at you. All right.
Or
who told you, Jim Bob?
Remember when Balaam's donkey talked to him? that's silly. That didn't happen.
Talking animals, God talking out of a burning bush. I mean,
maybe he had, of course, here's the materialism part of it again. Maybe he had some sort of brain tumor that pressed on something, and he did get visions, and he did speak to donkeys who he thought were speaking to him. But, that's a material explanation. And is it really common sense to say God did it? That God made a donkey talk to a man? Is that common sense?
No.
Dave, is that common sense? That's not common sense.
It's not common sense. Common sense is that the story means something else and you missed the point.
The story is entertaining, so you listen, and then somewhere in there, there's a point. Yes. That's how stories go.
And I can go through a lot of stories in the Bible that would make sense, so-called, where Jesus healed somebody spiritually, right? If you add the word spiritually, all of a sudden a lot of these things make sense. You raised them from the dead spiritually. You restored their hearing or their sight spiritually.
Now they can hear the truth.
Make sense.
They've awakened to a new possibility of loving and living in this world.
And you have to take things in the times. Once again, just because it was written thousands of years ago doesn't mean it has some kind of super knowledge, okay? There's always a mystique that surrounds any old text. and especially if they're written in Latin or some cool language, right, that comes off really powerful in the movies and stuff. Oh, it must be magical, and you have to say the magic words in the certain language or they don't work and all this stuff. Okay, it makes a great story, but those people didn't know anything. Okay, I was reminding my wife, toilet paper is a recent invention. Okay, splinter-free toilet paper is only a matter of decades old. So when you think so highly of these people that have been supposedly so advanced thousands of years ago, we didn't come up with toilet paper until recently. A little humbling, right?
Yeah.
Just a little humbling. Okay, we have a lot of great things, including this technology we're using right now to talk. This is amazing. Okay, but again, just a few years ago, you got splinters from toilet paper if you were lucky enough to have some toilet paper.
Right.
So
otherwise, you had to go pick a few leaves.
Just a few leaves, yeah. Just a humbling moment, folks. Okay.
Or a stick with pieces of flour sack around it.
Yeah, the
Romans I don't mean the paper ones in the grocery store. I mean the burlap sacks.
Yeah, the Romans used a communal stick with a sponge on it, right? You rinsed it off, and the next person used it, right? And but they had it all figured out. They built these big, tall pillars, and it's like, yeah, and they also smelled like duty.
Duty.
So just a humbling moment, folks, okay? Just a humbling moment that, yes, we're living in a great age, but it's only very recent. And we need to give the scientists a break. And we need to stop saying atheist means you're a scientist. It doesn't. Okay? Scott, any final words?
No, other than I'm going to be very interested in reading that Richard Lewitton, and I'm probably butchering his name, but article, and compare it to how our interlocutor there used it. And apparently it's an article that just goes all around the creationist circuit to basically make an accusation against atheism or against science or whatever. So I may try to find some references to it in videos and just see how it's used and then compare it to what's actually said. Because it's interesting to see how creationists seem to lack reading comprehension.
And Mike lost internet connection. But yeah, I'm sure you two will have a lot to say about that once you get reading into it. Yeah, send me a copy.
Uncommon Descent article. Send it to me too, because I don't recall that one.
Yeah, there he is. Make sure you check out the Uncommon Descent article. So, is it posted in the chat?
Hope so. I like it when hosts. Well, I don't see any articles. Let me hit reload. Oh, in the chat. I thought you meant the description.
Yeah. Mike, drop the link. Okay. Other than that, I think we wrapped it up, and I wanted to point out one more time, atheists don't believe in God. Look up the definition. It's very clear and concise. It says atheists don't believe in God. Doesn't make you a scientist, and doesn't mean you have to answer all these questions. And I don't care if you think you're Ray Comfort with all your gotcha moments. I'm Ray Comfort with gotcha. I got the microphone, and look, they can't believe in God. He doesn't know where the universe came from. No, I don't know where the universe came from. I don't. And I also don't believe in God. That's it. Okay? Doesn't mean I'm evil. I think, like I said, I'm a pretty average guy, okay? And I've been married for a long time. I have a house in the suburbs. I have dogs. I have kids. I have garden. I have hobbies. I like music. Sometimes I play it a little loud and the neighbors are listening to what I'm listening to. I don't want to do evil things. I have no desire to do evil things. I try to be a decent person. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Not everybody wants to cooperate, right? But, hello, Godless Granny. Good to see you. It doesn't always work out with everybody, but, I'm not looking out for, start any trouble. I'm not out committing crimes or any of this stuff. And any of this nonsense that they think is going on, no. I'm not devil worshiping, okay? There's no, none of that going on here. I have dabbled in the occult for the purpose of investigation. You can check out my video on it. But I'm not sitting around playing with my Ouija board any other time. It was just, just those couple times, and nothing happened. What else? Not making any sacrifices, not dancing naked in the moonlight. Although sometimes it sounds like fun, I don't think, it would be a pretty smart thing to do in the suburbs. Right? Get arrested. So don't do that. Don't do that. Although, even though it sounds fun. So other than that, no, you're just wrong, Dan. Completely wrong. And everybody, this is not towards Dan. This is towards all these videos that are out there. You're all wrong. Just wrong. Stop doing it. Atheists don't believe in any of those things. Atheists are not scientists. Atheists don't make up supernatural beliefs or any of these other things. I don't know what you're talking about, Dan, but you need to stop it. Really, seriously. It really bugged me. And I'm glad Scott and Mike were also bugged by it and wanted to stop by and talk about it. Yeah, Granny's got it. Dance naked in the bedroom under a skylight. There we go. I need a skylight. Oh, Granny, thank you.
Next do-it-yourself projects.
I know.
Make sure you get all the sealant right.
You hear that, Mrs. Desk? We need a skylight. And and of course, hail Bigfoot.
Have you got a video picked out for Saturday?
I found a channel. Maybe.
You're still pondering, huh?
Maybe. I'm always pondering. I've always got these ones I'm weighing. And I learned last time, go with the gut, because the other one didn't play right.
Yeah, I remember that.
So,
is that the one that didn't play, or just had no sound? It's just very low. Sound.
Yeah, the audio didn't work. Yeah, because they record it so low. I don't know what they're doing. Their equipment is in some goofy format. It seems to play all right when I have it, but it won't play through StreamYard. It's like it doesn't recognize it. Or, I don't know. I never had that problem before, but I second guessed myself, and I won't do that again. I was going to go with the other video, and I said, no, I'm going to go with this one. I second guessed myself, and it didn't play. So never going to do that again. My first choice, that's the one I'm going with. So I'm not going to jump the gun yet, but I did find a channel. It's only a few hundred subscribers, and we may be taking a look at that one. Either way, I do a lot of hard work chasing down these videos for Saturday Night at the Atheist. So, and
we appreciate all that effort.
And sometimes they're extraordinary.
Extraordinary effort requires extraordinary channels. Something like that.
We hope you all enjoy us on Saturday, and do enjoy yourself on Saturday. Try to have some fun over there. It's nothing serious. And again, it's nothing personal. Just some of these things that they're saying are kind of funny. So we have a little fun with it. Okay. And other than that, you never know. Something like this could pop up, or it could pop up on Answers in Atheism, because Scott and Mike get the itch sometimes too when they see a video and they're like, hey, we got to do a stream. So today it was me. I had the itch. I had to cover it. Video just came out. I say, and he put a short out. So he seems pretty proud of it. And I think it's garbage. Complete garbage. There's too many of these. Stop saying it. Deconverted man, Aaron Ra, all of us agree. Stop saying it. Atheists do not believe everything came from nothing. And with that, thanks everybody for joining us, and I hope to see y'all on Saturday, if not before. And take care of yourselves.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Without a sound, history speaks in tales of the Lord, knocking at the captive desk's door. Oh, legends live within these walls, silent echoes in the halls, books and stories on the floor, knocking at the captive desk's door. Oh, captive desk, hold our dreams, where reality and no myth seems. In conversations quiet flow, the mysteries untold will know. Legends live within these walls, silent echoes in the halls, books and stories on the floor, knocking at the captive text. Nerves are wide, hearts are keen, pages to secret scene, ancient maps and hidden lore, knocking at the captive text door. Oh, captive desk, hold our dreams, where reality and no myth seems. In conversations quiet flow, the mysteries untold.